Our MC, Li Yi, is an experienced other-dimensional operative who risks his life every day by wearing a hazmat suit and entering another dimension to mine energy stones. As usual, he is about to enter one of the otherworld portals when the attendant commends him for his good work. He lets him know that at his current pace, he should be able to repay his parents' debt in a year, or just a little over a year. The attendant even tells him that he might be able to buy a small apartment for himself in 3 to 5 years if he continues working hard. Li Yi assures the dude that he is going to work hard, but deep down, he knows he is dipping out of there once he is able to clear his parents' debt. Li Yi is not ready to sit down and work for another 3 to 5 years. Apparently, the radiation in the other dimensions has a 1 in 1,000 chance to awaken an ordinary person into an advanced person. However, the entire situation is deadly since people are only entering the other dimension to survive. On their way to the mission site, fully dressed in their hazmat suit, Li Yi can hear some of his co-workers talking about him. They talk about how his parents died 3 years ago in an accident, and they left him with a debt. Apparently, the group his parents worked for claims that they caused $1 million loss, which left Li Yi in debt. One of the dudes pities Li Yi, but another doesn't. He believes that Li Yi is weak because if he were in Li Yi's shoes, he would have burned down the world just to make sure that the company pays for what they did. Li Yi can practically hear them talk about him, and he cannot believe that they see him as a weak person. He talks about how society has gone insane and made it seem like he is a weakling. When they get to the mission site, the supervisor tells them that everything is ready and all that is left is to get to work. Suddenly, the whole area starts to shake, and one of the workers shouts that everything is about to come crashing down, but another argues that there is nothing to be afraid of since it is just a little earthquake. Another person disputes this, saying they have never heard of an earthquake in the otherworld dimension. Another person backs him up, saying he is an expert in working in these dimensions and he has never heard of an earthquake. One believes that the shake is a result of monsters showing up. Immediately, another suggests that they pack their things and get out of there because he once heard that the place used to be infested with aliens. These are scary creatures that are more deadly than insectoids and beasts. One of the workers agrees with him, saying it is better for them to just stop. Just then, the supervisor screams at them to shut their mouths. He explains that the zone was cleared of aliens by the advanced ones some 3 years ago, so there is no way they are going to show up. He is still scolding his teammates when blood spills everywhere with a long claw impaling him from behind, turning him into a kebab. The others are shocked and left stunned by what they just witnessed, as they don't want to believe that they are not dreaming. They take a better look, and this is when it dawns on them that they are being attacked by aliens. Panic sets in, and they start scrambling to run away for their dear lives. However, the alien chases them down, crushing them, impaling them, and smashing across the room. As Li Yi tries to put some distance between himself and the scary aliens, he wonders if this is actually going to help since the exit is over 10 kilometers away. They are being trashed around more than they can actually handle. Li Yi is making an impressive run until the aliens throw one of his coworkers at him, causing him to crash to the ground. He manages to get on all fours, but before he can stand up, some of his teammates have made it to the truck. Those who did had no intention of waiting for the others as they started the truck and rode away. Li Yi screams at them, begging to be taken with them. However, the escapees soon meet a grim fate as the aliens intercept them and tear open the truck roof to grab the humans trying to escape. Their cries for help echo through the entire area. The truck crashes, and the aliens mobilize to finish off the remaining humans in the truck. Before they can reach the truck, it catches fire and explodes. Some of the aliens get caught in the fire, and Li Yi watches them die. This is when it dawns on our MC that their weakness is fire. He decides to give it a try when he sees a burning stick beside him. An alien leaps toward him at that same moment, aiming to tear his head apart. Li Yi runs toward the burning stick and grabs it just in time, and he frantically swings it. Surprisingly, the alien backs off, and this confirms Li Yi's theory that the aliens are scared of fire. Li Yi then screams at the top of his voice, telling his coworkers that the aliens are scared of fire. Apparently, 10 years ago, gates appeared all over the world. Through the gates, insectoids, beasts, and aliens from the dimensional realms flooded through and invaded the Earth. Only those who were awakened by radiation possessed the power to fight these monsters. With the awakened humans, humanity is able to close the gates and also open a new era of exploration and development of new dimensional energy for humanity. Unfortunately for Li Yi and his coworkers, they are not advanced or awakened people. They are a bunch of ordinary dudes who are basically surviving in this world with everything that they can. After Li Yi told them the secret to repelling the aliens, his coworkers moved over to where he was and started gathering all the flammable materials as possible. One of the men points out the obvious fact that the torch they are holding won't last for eternity. Li Yi then suggests that they head to the storage room. He reminds everyone that there is gasoline inside the storage room, and if they block the entrance with fire, they should be able to stay alive until the rescue team arrives. This suggestion is accepted, and the team forms a tight-knit circle so that they can block all openings while they slowly move to the storage room. Just as they reach the entrance of the storage room, Li Yi orders the gasoline to be poured at the entrance. Immediately, they get to work and pour gasoline on the ground. Once the gasoline has spread enough, Li Yi and his co-workers throw their torches into the flowing gasoline. This immediately creates a fire barricade that catches one of the aliens and roasts it to death. The others are forced to watch their comrade die in the fire, while their prey is on the other side of the raging fire. Once they are safe, the workers start thanking Li Yi for saving them because without him, they sure would have died at the hands of the aliens. They start giving him assurances that they are going to help him if he ever needs it. Just then, Li Yi notices a weird-looking statue in the room, and he calls their attention to it. One of the workers who knows about the statue reveals that it was discovered long ago in the mine shaft, and the supervisor wanted to sell it on the black market, which was why he stored it in the room. Li Yi stares at the statue and figures out that it is pretty ancient. One of them gets on the radio to call for help. He reaches the operations center and lets them know that they need immediate help because they are under attack. The attendant who received the call assures them that their request has been taken into consideration, but urges them to keep themselves safe in the meantime because rescue will arrive in about 2 hours. Hearing 2 hours sets another wave of panic through the group, and before they could make any further requests or complaints, the line went dead. They are worried because their suit can only last for a maximum of 1.5 hours, which means that they will be dead long before help actually arrives. One of them suggests that they get into the truck inside the storage room and try to evade the aliens. Li Yi checks the reserve level on his suit, and he sees 61%. Li Yi hopes that the rescue team gets to them before their suits run out of power. Just then, one annoying dude calls everyone's attention to himself. He lets them know that he has a solution to the problem. Since everyone's suit won't last until they are rescued, he believes that someone should make a sacrifice. He points out that the useless ones among them are the old dudes and the orphans, so they make for the perfect materials to be discarded. He adds that they have no one, and they are in debt, so death will be mercy for them. He suggests that they surrender their suit's battery, but Li Yi makes his stand. The bad guy then hits him with the stick he is holding, scolding him for trying to make a stand. The pain from the hit causes Li Yi to crash to his knees. The bad guy and his faction then grab Li Yi, and they remove his helmet, telling him that the radiation might actually trigger his awakening, and if this happens, he might just become the hero to save them. Li Yi tries to crawl toward his helmet while telling them that he is definitely going to kill them if by any chance he gets to awaken. The bad dude lets him know that he has no chance of awakening because it is very rare, and he doesn't see Li Yi having that kind of luck. Just as he is trying to reach his helmet, they remove his suit's battery. After they are done with Li Yi, they turn to the old dudes in the group. Just then, one of the trio pushes the other two toward the bad guys and makes a run for the truck. They chase after him, but he manages to reach the truck before them. Since they are all hopeless, he wants them all to die together. He starts the truck and turns toward the entrance, and the statue at the back of the truck falls off. The bad guys try to stop the truck, since they know that they are done for if the driver breaks the fire barricade, stopping the aliens from entering the storage room. The statue crashes right in front of an exhausted Li Yi. The bad guys fail to stop the driver, and he takes out the fire, causing the aliens to immediately descend upon them. Just then, Li Yi notices something really weird. The strange statue is laughing, and Li Yi believes that the statue is mocking him. One of the aliens walks toward Li Yi and crushes the statue's head in the process. The alien grabs Li Yi, leaving him to question his entire life and reality. He wonders why he has to endure everything he has been through so far. The alien raises him up before pushing his claw right into his chest. Li Yi's life flashes before his eyes as he remembers what he has had to endure because of his parents' deaths. His relatives abandoned him, telling him that they couldn't raise him. Some let him know that he is on his own and should find a way to sort out his own bills and rent. The worst of all came when the company his parents were working for came knocking. They let him know that his parents' deaths don't stop him from paying the debt that they owe. Apparently, Li Yi tried to sue the company, but all of his efforts went down the drain because the company easily found out what he was trying to do. Li Yi claims that he doesn't want compensation, but he wants the truth of what happened to his parents. The company's thug tells him that his parents violated procedures and caused the accident that led to their deaths. They let him know that there is no compensation for him, but they will make his life harder by requesting that he pay back the millions that they lost due to the accident. Li Yi can only clench his fist in agony and frustration when he hears this from the thugs. They let him know that it would have been better for him if he had settled for compensation instead of searching for the truth. Li Yi was kicked to the floor with the thug telling him that he would be the one collecting his debt every month. To make it worse, he added 30,000 interest monthly, and he expects the principal to be paid in 3 years. He expects the payment on every 15th of every month, and he lets Li Yi know that he is going to get rough-handled if he doesn't provide the money at the said time. To help Li Yi quickly get the money, the thug tells him about the mines. He tells Li Yi to become a dimensional miner because this is the only job where he might be able to repay his debt. Now staring death in the face, Li Yi is not ready to go out without a fight. He admits that he is weak, but he resorts to something in desperation. He bites the alien, forcing the alien to throw him away in anger and pain. Li Yi crashes to the ground with a big hole in his chest. Biting into the beast, he realizes that it smells really disgusting. Suddenly, he finds himself in the presence of the statue. It is smiling while a purple aura swirls around its body. The shadow reveals how disappointed he is that Li Yi is just some weakling who doesn't deserve his pity. Li Yi admits that he is a weakling, but he calls out the fact that he tried fighting back by biting the alien, but Shadow got his statue smashed to bits by the aliens. Shadow then tells Li Yi that he is the only one who has the power to save him. The only thing he wants is for Li Yi to hand over his body obediently, but Li Yi declares boldly that he is not interested in the deal. He says he is ready to die rather than be controlled by a freak like Shadow. Shadow laughs when he hears this, but just as the alien is about to grab Li Yi the second time, Shadow merges with Li Yi. With this, he activates the Shadow system. Using the Shadow energy, the alien gets smashed into the ground before it can touch Li Yi. With the Shadow temporarily taking over Li Yi's body, he goes after the alien who stepped on his statue and crushes it to a paste. The rest of the aliens witness their comrade getting reduced to nothing, and they dash toward Shadow, who easily crushes them with his terrifying power. Even Shadow is disgusted by the smell coming from the dead beasts. After taking care of the aliens, Shadow moves toward Li Yi's coworkers. They know what is coming for them, and they start threatening to report him if he does anything bad to them. Instead of killing the bunch himself, Shadow decides to give Li Yi back control of his body and see what he is going to do to the coworkers who betrayed him. Li Yi grabs the traitors with Shadow's powers while they beg him to spare them, claiming that they did what they did so that they can survive. They even gaslight him, telling him that he would not have become an advanced person if they didn't do what they did to him. Li Yi is shocked to hear this as he asks them if they expect his gratitude for what happened. The bunch believes that they have gotten through to him, and they tell him that there is no need for him to thank them. They let him know that letting them go is all they want. Li Yi then agrees to let them go and even adds a bonus to it. Li Yi removes their helmets, exposing them to the radiation, and they start coughing out blood in literal seconds. After taking out the traitors, Li Yi walks over to the two outcasts. They are already begging to be spared, telling Li Yi that they didn't do anything wrong. Li Yi knows this and he drops 2 batteries for them, telling them to make use of them until rescue arrives. Shadow then tells Li Yi to stop acting all righteous and kind because it will only lead him into trouble. Li Yi simply tells Shadow to keep his mouth shut because he doesn't need a freak like him bossing him around. Shadow then tells Li Yi that he would like to see him act tough when he is about to die again. Li Yi steps out of the storage room to see a bunch of aliens approaching his location. Among the aliens is an abnormal one that is bigger and also has red eyes. Li Yi is surprised because he never expected the aliens to be this much. Shadow then tells Li Yi that he has a choice to hand over his body or deal with the aliens himself. Shadow lets Li Yi know that he is nothing without his powers. However, Li Yi repeats what he said earlier, letting Shadow know that he doesn't need him to boss him around. The aliens charge at Li Yi, but he is able to dodge the first few attacks while moving like a proper athlete. He maneuvers so easily that the aliens are not able to catch him, and even Li Yi can feel the difference in his body. While trying to dodge one of the aliens, another pulls up behind him. His senses kick in at the last minute and he is able to dodge being eaten by the alien. Li Yi realizes that his reaction and speed have both improved pretty well. However, Shadow is disappointed in Li Yi, telling him that this is all he could do, even after he has bonded with the Shadow system. One of the aliens comes charging at Li Yi, but Li Yi is pissed off by what Shadow just said. He is able to subconsciously pour some energy into his fist and delivers a punch that sends the alien flying. Li Yi is surprised to see that his power has increased, but he knows that his fists won't be enough to take out the aliens. Li Yi wishes that he had a weapon, and just as he says this, a cool, dark purple dagger materializes in his hand. Li Yi is shocked when he sees this, leaving him to question if the dagger is a transformation from Shadow. Li Yi decides to check out what the dagger can do. The next alien that charges toward him gets sliced clean in half as he cuts through it like butter. With this, Li Yi smiles, realizing that he has finally become an awakened person and he can kill aliens too. It soon turns into a rough fight between him and the aliens as they try to jump him. However, his speed and reaction make it possible for him to cut through the aliens with ease while wielding the cool dagger in his hands. Li Yi is glad that he has finally gained the power to fight back. Feeling the power surging through his bones, Li Yi doesn't stop until he has killed every single and last of the aliens. After killing them, Li Yi crashes to the ground totally out of breath and just then the notification comes in, telling him that his advancement is successful. He is classified as an E rank awakened. Momentarily, Li Yi is seen in a hospital room with the doctors and nurses watching over him. The nurse asks the doctor why Li Yi hasn't woken up even though there are no injuries on his body. The doctor reveals that awakened ones are usually this way because they are severely exhausted. The nurse gets more curious when she learns that Li Yi is an advanced person. She wants to know what his level is, and the doctor urges her to wait until he wakes up before they start talking about his level. After this, the doctor and the nurse leave the room. Shadow starts to complain as he cannot believe that he merged with a low-tier race, the humans. To make it worse, he is an E-rank advanced person. Shadow knows that with the level of strength that he commands, Li Yi should have awakened as an S rank or at least an A rank. However, he is interested in why an E rank like Li Yi was able to trigger the Shadow system. Shadow knows that it would be difficult for an E rank to handle the totality of his power. Just then, Li Yi wakes up and he realizes that Shadow is still there. He asks him what he is and why he is clinging to him. Shadow then tells Li Yi that he is an ancient supreme entropic, one of the entropic clan, and he is the ruler of all dimensions and otherworldly prisons. Shadow orders Li Yi to release his body to him, and he promises to reward him after he claims his throne. Li Yi believes that Shadow is spewing nonsense because this is the first time he will hear of anything supreme or entropic for that matter. Li Yi knows that there is no freaking way he is handing over his body to Shadow. Li Yi compares Shadow to an ugly cockroach, but Shadow can clearly hear him. But instead of arguing with him, he just tells him to hand over his body because this is the only usefulness he has left. Li Yi then drifts into another train of thought, wondering if Shadow is lusting after his body because he is handsome. However, Li Yi knows not to provoke Shadow as he is displaying some really psychotic behaviors. Li Yi starts thinking of the solutions he has. He thinks of dying so that Shadow will finally leave him alone. A lot of trash things fly through his head, and Shadow finally gets tired of the stupid things he is thinking about. Shadow screams at Li Yi, letting him know that he would have gladly chosen a dog over him if he had a choice back in the zone. Just then, Shadow transports them into a cave. Shadow tells Li Yi that he has 3 days to reach D-Class, or else he is going to wipe him off the face of the earth. Li Yi is dazed and disoriented because the last thing he remembers is being in the hospital. He wonders where he is, and Shadow reveals that they are currently in an otherworldly E-Class trial site. This is the site made use of by his clan, and it is called the Insect Nest. Apparently, every member of the Chintian race can only take part once after they reach the drinking age. Since Li Yi has merged with Shadow, he has been able to refresh the trial attempt. Suddenly, Li Yi finds himself in the presence of a beast, the shield carapace beetle. Li Yi is surprised that he knows the name of the beast even though it is his first time seeing it. Shadow then tells him that the Shadow system that he blessed him with will let him have access to his knowledge bank. Li Yi then whips out his cool dagger and he makes some quick, flashy moves before trying to attack the beetle from behind. He manages to use his speed to get to the beetle's back to land a hit, but his attack bounces off the beetle's hard shell. The beetle then returns the favor by attacking Li Yi, but Li Yi manages to block the hit with his dagger. He is thrown backwards, but he maintains his balance by pushing his dagger into the ground. Li Yi is left confused since the beast has a really tough outer shell. Shadow wastes no time, calling Li Yi a useless fool, asking him if his only tactic is brute force. Li Yi lets Shadow know that his method of combat is none of his business. With this, Li Yi goes after the beetle again, but Shadow lets Li Yi know that he won't be there to help him if he loses. Li Yi lands another hit, but this bounces off again, leaving him to wonder if the beetle even has a weak point. While thinking of this, Li Yi loses himself in the moment, giving room to an opening that allows the beetle to send him flying. He crashes into a wall, leaving a massive dent while coughing out blood, and Shadow calls him a trash weakling, urging him to get up. Suddenly, Li Yi notices a greenish liquid on his shoulder, raising the question of what it is. He looks up to see that the greenish liquid is coming out from one of the beetle's arms. This is when he realizes that the green liquid is the beetle's blood. Li Yi smiles because he has finally found the beetle's weakness. This realization changes the dynamic of the battle as Li Yi attacks the beast ferociously. After some really good effort, he is able to cut off one of the beetle's legs, but Shadow just makes fun of him, asking him what the point of breaking just one leg is after all the effort he just put into it. However, Li Yi knows what he is doing because with one of the beetle's legs gone, he now has more access to get to the beetle's weak point. As if the beetle knows what Li Yi is planning, it backs up a bit. Shadow wonders what Li Yi means by weak point. To access the weak point, Li Yi figures out that he needs a better weapon. Just then, a purple spear materializes in his hands just like the dagger. Armed with the spear, he dashes toward the beetle and gets underneath it. He pushes the spear into the beast's underbelly, causing it to scream in pain. Li Yi tears through its underbelly and reveals that the reason the beetle is lying down the way it is because its weak point is on its abdomen. Using his strength, he tears the bug from the abdomen, and he finally defeats it. Li Yi is proud that he won, but Shadow just throws a dig at him, telling him that he is exhausted from killing a single E-rank beetle. The remains of the beetle are a blue jewel, and Li Yi grabs it, telling Shadow that he can feel power rushing into him. Shadow then reveals that the jewel is an energy stone, which can sometimes boost his ability level. By consuming the energy stone, Li Yi's advancement to the next level takes another step forward. Suddenly, Li Yi feels something coming toward him from one of the pathways, but he can't see it. Shadow then suggests that Li Yi use his Shadow Eye, but Li Yi is generally confused about what the Shadow Eye means. Shadow then tells Li Yi to gather energy into his eye, and with this, he will be able to activate the Shadow Eye. Li Yi does as told, allowing the energy to flow through his body directly into his left eye. His left eye comes on in a purplish flame, and at that moment, he sees a projectile heading straight for him. Behind the projectile is the beast that fired it. At the last minute, he is able to dodge the projectile as he leaps into the air. The projectile hits the wall and punctures it while leaving behind a green substance. Li Yi cannot believe how fast the projectile is, but before he can get a minute to rest, another one comes straight at him. He is able to dodge this also, and just then, he realizes that his Shadow Eye skill is not fully functional, which is why he can't see the projectiles coming his way. Shadow lets him know that the Shadow Eye skill is pretty functional, but he is just a weakling who can't use it properly. Li Yi doesn't like hearing the word weak, and because of this he decides to gather even more energy into his eyes. When Shadow sees this, he is surprised that an E-rank like Li Yi can easily manipulate shadow energy. Once he is able to maintain the functionality of the Shadow Eye, Li Yi realizes that he is going up against the sword bug, which is nicknamed the Head Harvester. There is also another beast, the Stinger Shooter, which specializes in long-range poison spikes. Shadow is also impressed that Li Yi is getting the hang of the knowledge bank. Suddenly, Li Yi realizes that he is not up against one beast but a large number of them. The beasts roar at Li Yi, ready to tear him apart. Li Yi manages to get himself a good position where the beasts won't be able to flank him. Shadow is impressed with Li Yi's wisdom and the position he has put himself in. Even though he is greatly outnumbered, Li Yi is not ready to give up as he unleashes a massive and terrifying aura from his body while telling the monsters to stay away from him. With this aggressive emission of aura, Li Yi is able to activate the second level of the Shadow Eye. Even Shadow is in disbelief that Li Yi, a trash E-rank, is able to pull this off. Li Yi now has the Knowledge Base, Shadow Eye, and Shadow Morph in his current bank of skills. Li Yi cuts down the beasts and manages to slow down their movements, and while engaging them, he is able to locate the weak points of the beasts by the purple color showing on them. Shadow lets him know that this is a benefit that comes with the Shadow Eye and because he has upgraded it to the second level. Shadow lets him know that identifying the weak points makes it easy for his attacks to break through their defenses. Li Yi figures out that the monster's weak points are all underneath them, and with a massive energy blast, he activates the Shadow Thorn, Grand Burial. This sends a wave of energy thorns straight into the monster's weak points, impaling them from the ground up. The Shadow Thorn is a skill that impales Shadow into the ground and thrusts it upward, causing area damage. After taking out a bunch of beasts, he makes a little progress from it. He then realizes that each kill grants him 0.7% progress. Since he has figured out their weak points, he wants to wipe them out in one go. Using the Shadow Eye, he gets a speed boost that he uses to run through the monsters. This leaves a purple trail behind him as he takes them down like cutting through butter. Suddenly, another species of beast comes flying at him. Li Yi only manages to dodge at the last minute to avoid his head getting torn off. Li Yi uses his smart brain to turn the Shadow Dagger into a whip to grab the monster around the neck. He drags the beast before cutting its head off, while teasing him to jump again if it can. Since the stingers are still a problem, Li Yi goes after them, relieving them of their butts to take out their long-range capabilities. The monsters hanging above the cave area pisses him off, and he grabs all of them with his whip, throwing them to the ground. With the level of smartness that he has displayed during the battle, Shadow starts getting more and more interested in Li Yi. Li Yi continues taking out the monsters, and in no time he reaches 30% of what is needed to advance to D rank. Unknown to him, the Shadow Eye is very powerful, but at the same time, it consumes immense mental power, which is the price paid to use the Shadow. Just as Shadow said, the side effects start to kick in, and Li Yi's vision goes blurry. Shadow figures out that he has hit his limit already, since he is an E-rank awakened. This little lapse in concentration allows a monster to sneak up on him and impale him from behind. However, Li Yi is determined to keep going because he finally has the power to get revenge, and he is not about to die to a bunch of monsters. At this moment, Li Yi has just a little over 15 hours left. Li Yi is driven by the motivation to know what happened to his parents, and while the company is trying so hard to cover it up. In addition to this, he is forced to repay a debt that he knows nothing of. Li Yi continues pushing forward, and by the time he reaches 70% progress for his breakthrough, he has just over 5 hours left. Nonetheless, Li Yi is not ready to give up since he already has the one thing to give him the revenge he actually wants. As Li Yi turns the monsters into kebabs and spreads their parts all around the cave, he is dreaming of how he wants to drag all the company executives down to their graves. Li Yi is determined to make them pay and beg for forgiveness for what they did to his parents. When he reaches 95%, he has just 2 minutes left. Shadow is impressed with what he is seeing as he realizes that human hatred is surprisingly compatible with the shadow system. In addition to being compatible, it fuels the shadow system, but he urges Li Yi to hurry up since the time he gave him is about to run out. Li Yi continues to fight as he stands above a stack of monsters that he has taken down, while he has just 11 seconds left with a 97% progress. Realizing that he has just a few seconds left, Li Yi decides to unleash all of his shadow energy in one go. Even Shadow is surprised by what Li Yi is about to do, asking him if he is not scared of exploding. Li Yi reveals that he is ready to give his life as long as he is able to break through to the next rank. With the last seconds of his time, Li Yi unleashes his full strength at the monsters. Before the timer reaches 0, Li Yi lands his final blow, filled with immense shadow energy, that destroys everything in his path. It shatters the ground, wiping out the monsters, but it is enough to help him break through to the next rank. Li Yi is exhausted from this, and Shadow teases him, telling him that he can finally call him Little D for making it to the next rank. Just then, he spots a weapon lying in front of him. Shadow informs him that the insect nest used to be the beginner trial field for his race. Shadow calls the giant sword on the ground a dagger, telling Li Yi that it can be classified as A rank. Li Yi is surprised to see Shadow call the big sword he is holding a dagger. He wonders if the entirety of the Shadow race is made of giants. Shadow boasts, telling Li Yi that the weapons are nothing when compared to his great shadow power. Instead of stocking the weapons, Li Yi decides to sell them. He tells Shadow that only D-rank awakened people can sell equipment, which means the first place he is heading after leaving the dungeon is the registration hall. When he arrives at the registration hall, Li Yi is surprised when the attendant slaps him with the E-rank card, telling him that he has already been registered as a minor. Even though his stats are pretty impressive, the stern lady doesn't care. However, Li Yi is not concerned about this since E-rank awakened even gets 15% more pay than minors. Li Yi admits that the shadow system is pretty impressive. Shadow then reveals that humans can't detect the shadow energy, and Li Yi considers this a good thing. However, being an E-rank means he can't sell his equipment. Although there is a black market where all the shady deals happen, Shadow commends the name Black because it fits the shadow system very perfectly. That night, Li Yi makes his way to a dark alley where he can find the black market. Li Yi steps in front of some weapons, and Shadow makes fun of Li Yi, saying humans are trash for putting gems on weapons and calling them divine. Some of the awakened walk up to Li Yi, asking him why a minor like him is visiting the market. Li Yi is disappointed with their reception, asking if this is how they treat their customers. The sellers only laugh at him, calling him dirt poor, who can't afford anything. Li Yi then mentions that he doesn't like the trash that they are selling, and he brings out his giant sword. He slams it to the ground and urges the seller to bring his appraiser so he can see how much his greatsword is worth. Just then, a rude lady, Su Qing, who is a trash civilian, enters the room holding her boyfriend, Zhou Huo. She asks why someone as dirty and poor as Li Yi is inside the establishment. The seller immediately ignores Li Yi, walking toward the couple and asking Zhou if he wants some good equipment for the day. Zhou Huo mentions that he has a nice sword that he acquired from the Gate of the Other Worlds, and he plans to sell it so he can buy his trash girlfriend a new car. The seller is shocked to see the sword as it is a wind howl sword, which is able to boost attack power on its own. He considers this a hot weapon for even a D-ranked awakened. Apparently, Su Qing was Li Yi's ex-girlfriend, and he left him after his parents' deaths, telling him not to look for her. Zhou Huo asks Su Qing if she knows Li Yi, but she quickly denies him, saying she can't be affiliated with a low-level person like Li Yi. Su Qing claims that Li Yi probably knows her from the media since she is an acclaimed celebrity. Zhou Huo then decides to defend his girlfriend because Li Yi called her name. Su Qing adds more fuel to the fire, telling Li Yi that he is trash and shouldn't be allowed to enter a prestigious place like this. Zhou Huo then swings his prized weapon at Li Yi's great sword, telling him to get lost. Zhou Huo's weapon hits the great sword, but to his utmost surprise, it shatters into pieces right before his eyes. Zhou Huo starts questioning the logic behind this, but Li Yi grins, telling him that his sword turns out to be trash after all. Even Su Qing is forced to ask her boyfriend how the weapon broke, since he already claimed that it could slice through iron, and in fact, it was worth a lot. Zhou Huo loses it and decides to go after Li Yi to impress his dumb girlfriend. However, Li Yi is able to easily dodge Zhou Huo's punch while telling him that he is too slow. Zhou Huo believes that Li Yi got lucky, and he goes for a second strike, but this time Li Yi dodges it even more easily. Li Yi watches him throw futile punches at him. Li Yi compares the swings to the trials he faced in the insectoid nest and realizes Zhou Huo is pretty slow. At this point, Zhou Huo is already questioning everything he knows, saying Li Yi is just a minor who isn't even up to E rank. Zhou Huo keeps throwing his punches, but he can't reach Li Yi, leaving him to wonder why he can't get to him, even though he is a D rank awakened. Zhou Huo gets really mad and leaps into the air, telling Li Yi to crawl back to the mines where he belongs. Li Yi then uses the shadow energy to make a whip, and he grabs Zhou Huo by the wrist, telling him that he is a dog who should crawl back to the surface. Li Yi smashes him to the ground, causing him pain as he screams. Suqing rushes over to Zhou Huo as he tries to get back on his feet. Li Yi grins, mocking Zhou Huo for being a dog. This gets him mad again, and he gets back on his feet. He charges in Li Yi's direction, but a voice echoes through the room, telling them to stop. It turns out to be a supervisor, Wang, and he is D-rank awakened. He tells Zhuo that he might be a long-time customer, but this doesn't give him the right to fight in his shop. Suqing tries to defend her boyfriend, telling Wang that Li Yi broke Zhuo's sword, which is why he crashed out. Wang is surprised when he learns that Li Yi is a minor. He walks toward Li Yi, asking him if it is true that he broke Zhou's sword. In his defense, Li Yi mentions that Zhou was the one who attacked him first. Li Yi believes that with this, he is justified. Wang then turns to Zhou to confirm what Li Yi just said. The two quickly make a plan to collect Li Yi's sword so that they can share the money among themselves. Wang then tries to come on as a good person, telling Li Yi that he is willing to be a mediator. He asks to take a look at the sword in Li Yi's hand, and Li Yi gladly gives it to him. Wang collects the sword, and he is forced to hold it with two hands because it weighs over 100 pounds. This surprises him as he cannot believe that Li Yi is able to carry this easily, and he starts to wonder if Li Yi is an awakened. He decides to test Li Yi's limits before he makes a move. He asks Li Yi where he got the sword since he is a minor. Li Yi is surprised by the question, asking Wang when black markets start to check owner IDs and item origins. Wang then says he was only curious, but assures Li Yi that he is free not to say if he doesn't want to. Li Yi then tells the dude that it was a sword that he picked up during mining. Wang's eyes light up in excitement, believing that Li Yi is truly a lowly miner. Wang then claims that the sword is not worth much because it has no added attributes. He then claims that Zhou's sword would have been worth over 2 million if it hadn't been shattered. Wang then comes up with a useless deal, telling Li Yi that he is willing to buy his sword, but he refers to it as a broken sword. Wang tells Li Yi that he has to compensate Zhou 2 million, and he will cover the rest of the fees. Wang believes that this is a good deal for him, asking Zhou what he thinks about the deal. As planned, Zhou goes along with the plan, saying he is fine with it since Wang has stepped in to help. Suqing is worried since she doesn't think Li Yi can get 2 million. She is seriously worried that she won't get the car she was promised, but Zhou has another sinister plan. They plan to kill Li Yi and sell his organs, which will still get them the 2 million that they need. Suqing is on board with the plan as she is relieved that she will still get her promised car. Just then, some dudes in black start walking up to Li Yi, but he is unfazed, and he is even surprised that they already have everything figured out. Wang smirks, asking him if he has a problem with it. Li Yi calmly replies that he is not the only one with a problem with their plans. It turns out that Shadow is very pissed, and he is about to unleash his fury on the trash dealers. While the thugs run at Li Yi, Wang suggests that he and his business partners head to the tea room to enjoy themselves. Suddenly, one of the thugs gets smashed into the wall right in front of them. The trio turns around to see what is happening. Wang still doesn't think anything is wrong as he tells his boys to be careful while dealing with the problem. However, they realize how messed up the situation is when they see Li Yi kicking the thugs around without even trying. He sends them flying, and Zhou angrily kicks back one of the thugs. He believes that Li Yi has managed to garner some strength while working at the mines. Li Yi looks at Zhou scornfully, telling him that he is next on the list. Zhou smiles, wondering when Li Yi got so good at fighting. However, he is not worried because he sees himself as a D rank, who is way above Zhou's level. Zhou powers up and charges at Li Yi, but Li Yi just stands without moving an inch from where he was before smacking Zhou right in the face. This sends him flying, but he gets back on his feet and charges up another attack. Zhou is pissed that his father didn't slap him in the face, but Li Yi had the audacity to. Zhou charges up an energy blast, telling Li Yi that he is going to kill him for what he just did. He unleashes his energy blast, but Li Yi easily deflects the energy blast and absorbs it, leaving Zhou totally stunned. He cannot believe his eyes as he realizes that there seems to be a wall between him and Li Yi. Li Yi then tells Zhou that he is going to teach him some manners since his father didn't take the time to teach him. At this point, Joe is already trembling, and the only thing he can tell Li Yi is to back away. His girlfriend wastes no time trash-talking him, asking him why a D rank like him would lose to a lowly miner. Li Yi then uses the shadow morph, Spiderweb, to grab Joe. Suqing is in disbelief as she cannot understand what is happening. Joe screams at Li Yi, asking him what rank he is because he sure looks like an awakened person. Li Yi smiles, telling Joe that he is just a lowly E-rank miner who is already certified by the guild. Joe still cannot believe his eyes, but Li Yi raises his hand, ready to smack him dead. Joe stops him, telling him that he is a member of the Black Panther gang. He assures Li Yi that touching him automatically means he is going against the Black Panther gang. This name sounds familiar to Li Yi, and he asks Joe if he is talking about the Black Panther gang that does loan sharking. Joe excitedly answers, saying he is right, but this immediately earns him a heavy punch to the face. After punching him in the face, Li Yi kicks him into the wall, while Suqing also falls to the ground in fear. Joe hits the wall with blood spilling everywhere, and Li Yi lets him know that he passionately hates those who are into loan sharking. Wang tries to attack Li Yi from behind, but before he can reach Li Yi expels energy from his body that sends him flying. At this point, Joe is already scared for his life, and he starts begging Li Yi to let him live, telling him that he has 100,000 yuan with him. He urges Li Yi to be friends with him so that they can forget about everything that happened. Li Yi is surprised to hear this, asking Joe if his handsome face is only worth 2,000 yuan per slap. This forces Joe to start screaming, telling Li Yi that he is willing to pay him 1 million yuan if he can just stop slapping him. However, Li Yi reminds Joe that the loan sharks like charging high interest, and he would like to play by their rules. Li Yi tells Joe that the 50 slaps that he just received are the interest, but he is just about to begin with the principal fee. This is when Joe whips out a VIP card, telling Li Yi that he is free to take the entire 5 million that the card is worth as long as he leaves him alone. Li Yi recognizes that the card is from the NG group, which means they are the ones collecting the debt he has been repaying. Because of this, he decides that he will let Joe go so that he can lead him to the bigger fish. Joe starts swearing that he has already offered everything that he has. Li Yi drops Joe, telling him that the Black Panther has taken millions over the years, and he considers that the money he just received is part of his money. Suqing helps Joe back on his feet, and Joe questions Suqing's credibility because she told him that Li Yi is just a miner. In her defense, she claims that she didn't know Li Yi had suddenly gotten so powerful. Joe slaps Suqing across the face, telling her that he wouldn't have let his guard down if she hadn't told him that Li Yi was a miner. Joe is pissed, and he grabs his phone to put a call through. He immediately calls his brother, who is in the middle of torturing some dudes. Joe tells his brother that he needs to stand up for him because he was just robbed by someone. He claims that he wanted to give his brother a very expensive sword, but the thief stole it from him and even threatened to wipe out the Black Panther gang. His brother immediately becomes interested and demands that Joe send him the culprit's info. After Panther is done with his business with the people he is terrorizing, he simply wipes everyone out with his power that stretches out of his hand to impale everyone behind him. He then mentions that he is about to trample upon the culprit that Joe mentioned. The Shadow System's knowledge base adds another piece of information, and it is the details of the NG group that caused the death of Li Yi's parents. Later on, Li Yi heads to one of the task zones, and the attendant asks him what he wants. He reveals that he is an E-rank awakened, and he wants a task that he can work on. The other awakened dudes who are there laugh at him, telling him that he is trying to get himself killed because there are only D-rank missions in the zone. They further trash-talk him, telling him that E-ranks like him beg for scraps, but he has the audacity to talk big at them. The attendant then urges Li Yi to wait outside the building, where any team that wants him will come and meet him. The attendant and the other D-ranks all gang up on him, telling him to leave because he is trash. Suddenly, Li Yi gets the alert that the 5 million he just got from Joe has been taken by the loan shark. He considers a task his biggest priority. Suddenly, someone with intense pressure enters the room, causing the awakened warriors to bow their heads. They assume that the aura is coming from a B-rank warrior since most of them can't even move from where they are. The aura turns out to be coming from a lady dressed in a white and red outfit. She crushes the awakened dudes with her intense pressure, leaving them to question why a B-rank warrior is there. On the other hand, Li Yi is totally unaffected by the aura coming from the lady. Using his shadow eyes, Li Yi is able to figure out that the lady seems like a rich girl, but he is not sensing any killing intent from her, leaving him to wonder if she is hiding it. The dude with the B-rank lady then announces that there is a D-rank task at the Beast Abyss that needs a D-rank awakened to work as a miner. He asks the people if any of them are interested. The other awakened dudes soon start to notice that Li Yi is not affected by the B-rank's aura, leaving them to question how he is able to do it since he is just an E-rank awakened. They are even surprised when he boldly takes a step forward. Li Yi is shocked when he realizes that he is the only one who stepped forward to take the task. The B-rank lady is impressed that Li Yi is not bowing to her aura, even though he is just an E-rank minor. The attendant tries to get familiar with the B-rank lady, Qin, telling her that there are a lot of D-rank warriors that he can show her, but Qin refuses. Qin lets the attendant know that she is interested in Li Yi. The attendant protested against this, telling Qin that Li Yi was late and hadn't even queued up at the register. The attendant tries to point to the rules, but Qin sternly tells him that she is an embodiment of the rules. Realizing that Qin has gotten pretty serious and pissed, the attendant is forced to back off. Even the attendant is shocked because this is the first time he will see her pick someone by herself, leaving him to wonder if there is an interesting story surrounding the miner's background. Not long after this, they make their way to the dungeon where they engage beasts. The team is pretty balanced as they have all the classes among them. The team contains a bard, a swordsman, a warrior, and other classes to make everything balanced. Li Yi is impressed with the way the team is operating. He realizes that they are in perfect sync, and with the B rank leading them, they should have no problem. However, using his shadow eye, he is able to figure out that there are minotaurs below them, and this exceeds the number of beasts that should be present in the dungeon. Li Yi starts to wonder why the rest of the team can't sense the minotaurs. Shadow then tells him that his shadow eye has already reached the second level, which means his sensory perception is way above every member of the team. Li Yi agrees with him, but believes that Qin should be able to sense it since she is a B rank awakened. He wonders if Qin has already sensed it, but intentionally hid it for some weird reasons. The bard then tells Qin that the starlight crystal vein she is looking for is in the cave. Qin then calls Li Yi to come with her, and he immediately obliges. As the two walk further down the cave, Li Yi continues to sense the terrifying aura as it gets stronger. He wonders if Qin doesn't care about her teammates and would just leave them to die. He also wonders if Qin is trusting that her power alone is enough to keep everyone safe. Suddenly, the ground under the two gives in, causing them to fall in. The other team members scream as the two fall into the hole below. Li Yi and Qin land perfectly without sustaining any injury. Just then, they come face to face with a D-rank Minotaur Beastman that is ready to tear everything in its path to shreds. Just then, Qin unsheathes her sword, and Li Yi is relieved that she is about to make a move. Just then, Qin does something surprising. She starts to retreat while telling Li Yi to move forward, assuring him that she is going to cover him. Li Yi is surprised to hear this, reminding Qin that he is just an E-rank minor. Suddenly, Qin falls to her knees, begging Li Yi to engage the beast. Li Yi is surprised that a B-rank like her is refusing to fight while edging him to fight. Li Yi remembers that he is getting paid a miner's wages, and he doesn't think it would be nice for him to risk his life. Suddenly, Qin assures Li Yi that she is going to give him 1 million yuan if he can just take out the beasts. Because money is involved, Li Yi assures the lady that he will get himself involved. Li Yi drops the bag he is carrying and whips out the dagger. Li Yi walks toward the beasts, and they all rush toward him like hungry freaks. One of the beasts escapes his grasp and heads toward Qin. Li Yi is scared that his 1 million is about to enter the bin, but Qin unleashes an energy beam to push the beasts away when she realizes that she is in danger. Li Yi is glad that she actually has a move up her sleeve to protect herself, and this tells him that he misjudged her. Another Minotaur aims directly for Qin, but Li Yi whips out the broad sword to cut down the Minotaur before it can harm Qin. Li Yi teases her, asking her if she's only attracted to dangerous beasts. Qin acts like a kid and starts to cry. Qin walks away, telling Li Yi that the beasts are his to handle. Li Yi has no choice but to cut through the beasts. Qin believes that she's safe until she runs into a scary Minotaur with red eyes. Qin runs backwards, staring at the scary beast and wondering why it's not afraid of her. Just then, the beast raises its weapon, ready to strike Qin down. Qin is watching this from where he is, and he starts wondering why Qin is not fighting back, even though she has the power to. Just as the monster's attack is about to hit her, the bracelet she is wearing activates a red energy surge that throws the beast away. Li Yi watches as the Minotaur is sent flying into the distance. Once Qin is safe, the bracelet cracks, and Li Yi realizes that it's a protective charm. This is when it dawns on him that Qin is not using her own powers to fight the monsters. Li Yi then asks Qin if she's a non-combat B-rank awakened. Qin subtly ignores the question but urges Li Yi to keep the entire thing a secret when they return to the surface. Li Yi is willing to do this, but lets Qin know that it's going to cost her more money. Just then, a new wave of Minotaurs shows up on site. Li Yi wonders why the beasts are coming after Qin. Li Yi then activates his shadow eye, and he is able to detect the bard, who was concealing his presence. He is also able to figure out that the Minotaurs are acting abnormally. Qin is about to be crushed to death by one of the Minotaurs, but she calls on her knight in shining armor, who rushes over to save her. He cuts down the Minotaur with the broad sword, and he quickly figures out that things won't end the way they are going. The Minotaurs keep pouring in, and Li Yi knows that he can't use a powerful skill because he might end up hurting Qin. Li Yi figures out that getting trapped in his current situation basically means death for him. He then comes up with a bright idea. Since the enemy is after Qin, he plans to draw the enemy out by using Qin as bait. Li Yi uses his shadow energy and turns it into chains that he grabs the minotaurs with. He then tells Qin to be careful of sneak attacks. Li Yi walks away from her and starts cutting down the monsters in front of him. Qin is shocked and confused by this as she starts asking Li Yi what he means by that. Once the enemy controlling the minotaurs figures out that Li Yi is focused on the minotaurs, he quickly turns his attention to Qin. He is relieved that Li Yi didn't ruin his precious plan. Just then, the bard appears behind Qin, ready to take her out. Apparently he has a beef with her father, and he wants to take it out on her. Just as he is about to push a blade into Qin, his arm suddenly falls off, and it turns out that Li Yi reached him in a matter of seconds, cutting off his arm. The bard watches as his arm falls off, and Li Yi informs Qin that the bard is the one controlling the minotaurs to attack her. Qin is shocked to see that her party member, Ludan, is the one who is plotting against her. Realizing that he has been exposed, Ludan smiles, blaming himself for letting his guard down and falling to a lowly miner. However, he assures Li Yi that he has not won the battle just yet. Ludan unleashes a red aura from his body, and this attracts all the minotaurs in the area. Ludan lets Li Yi know that he is about to show him what his skill can actually do. From the aura, Li Yi figures out that Ludan is a C-rank awakened, but Qin lets him know that Ludan is only strengthening himself by taking the life force of the minotaurs. Basically, Ludan is a D-rank warrior, but by using this technique he is able to advance a rank further. Suddenly, lava erupts in the room, and this is when Qin realizes that Ludan might actually be evolving into a C-rank lava minotaur. Li Yi is impressed by Ludan's technique, and he considers himself an inferior warrior to him. Just then, Ludan completes his transformation and turns into a scary minotaur with lava running through his body. Ludan swings at them, leaving a powerful strike, but Li Yi is able to shield them using his sword and his shadow energy. However, his resulting attack leaves devastating damage that tells Li Yi how dangerous C-ranks are. Even though Li Yi tried to block the attack, he was still left with burn marks on his body. Qin is worried when she sees that Li Yi sustained some damage to his body. Ludan prepares for another wave of attack, and Li Yi is not about to wait around to see what he can do. He grabs Qin and tells her to hold on tightly while they make a run for it. Suddenly, Ludan realizes that he can't move, and it turns out that Li Yi has restricted his movement with webs from his shadow energy. Qin is shocked to see that Li Yi has a control-type skill too, but he lets her know that he can't hold Ludan for long, so they will have to move fast. Li Yi then gives Qin a piece of advice, telling her to keep running whenever she is in a dungeon because the farther she can run, the better for her. Li Yi then leaves Qin to continue without him. Qin tries to protest against this, but he reminds her that he needs to hold Ludan off. Qin remains worried, but Li Yi assures her that he is going to find her soon enough. Li Yi cannot afford to let Qin die since she has 1 million yuan to give him. Ludan is pissed after the two disappear, and he starts looking for them, but Li Yi soon appears above him, asking him who he is looking for. Li Yi sits down like he doesn't care, and this pisses Ludan off. He swings his hand at Li Yi, asking him where Qin is. Ludan smashes where Li Yi is sitting, but before his attack lands, Li Yi has moved out of the way. Li Yi appears behind him, taunting him and telling him to take a wild guess at where Qin is. Li Yi sneaks up behind Ludan and targets the cracks between his rocky body. He lands a hit, but his sword bounces off, leaving him in disbelief as he realizes that even the cracks cannot be breached. Ludan mocks him, asking him if he is dull in the head since he is using a blade to try and cut down a rock. Ludan swiftly turns around and almost smashes Li Yi into the ground, but he moves out of the way thanks to his crazy agility. Because of the lava flowing in the area, Li Yi thinks of changing positions to lure out Ludan. Li Yi runs through a rocky wall while Ludan angrily chases after him, calling him a rat. He teases Li Yi, asking him if the only thing he knows how to do is run away. Once Li Yi has reached the location where he wants, he activates his shadow eye. He knows that no matter how strong and dangerous he looks, he definitely has a weakness. Ludan still comes charging at him, telling him that he is going to kill him and then go after Qin. Ludan angrily reaches Li Yi and tries to crush him, but he dodges. Momentarily, Li Yi has been able to find Ludan's weakness. Li Yi leaps up and aims for Ludan's neck, which seems to be his weakness. Ludan turns to look at him, telling him that he knows what he is planning. However, Ludan is confident that no matter what tricks he wants to pull, it is going to end up useless. Before Li Yi can land his hit, Ludan smacks him into a wall with his terrifying firepower. Li Yi cannot believe how strong Ludan is, and this further cements his fear that C-ranks are beasts. Since Li Yi is trapped against the wall, Ludan charges at him, telling him that there is no escape route for him. Meanwhile, Li Yi has no intentions of running since he is looking for an opening. He activates the shadow energy to whip out his dagger, and Ludan laughs at him for thinking his dagger can do anything against him. Ludan swings his weapon, but Li Yi gets out of the way, waiting for Ludan to strike again. Ludan hits the ground while attacking, and before he can react, Li Yi gets behind him. He is face to face with the lava opening, which seems to be the weak point. However, he can feel the intense heat coming from the spot he wants to attack, leaving Li Yi to think twice about his decision. The steam from the source is able to push Li Yi back. He is stunned that even his shadow energy is failing to block the intense heat. Li Yi gives Ludan his credits, telling him that he knows how to protect his weak points more than he actually thought. Ludan is surprised that Li Yi was even able to figure out his weak point. However, he is confident that Li Yi cannot do anything even if he knows it, since there are over 2,000 degrees Celsius of heat still emanating from his weak point. Ludan then tells Li Yi to tell him where Qin is, and he might spare his life. Li Yi smiles, calling Ludan a traitor for selling his master for fame and fortune. Li Yi then lets Ludan know that he has no interest in trusting a traitor. This pisses Ludan off, and he roars in anger, causing another lava lake to erupt. Ludan swings his weapon at Li Yi, forcing him to evade again. Ludan mocks him, asking him why he is always running around instead of fighting. Li Yi tries to hit Ludan with his shadow webs, but Ludan dodges the attack, giving Li Yi the ground to diss him too. However, this is Li Yi's plan as the webs all converge at Ludan's weak point. Even with his brilliant plan, the heat from Ludan's weak point is just so much that it melts the webs before they can reach. Ludan taunts Li Yi, telling him that his efforts are pretty useless. Li Yi frowns in frustration as Ludan tries to decapitate him. Li Yi moves out of the danger zone, but Li Yi is getting worried since he might end up running out of energy because the shadow energy consumption is high. Li Yi starts wondering if his only choice is to ask Shadow for help. Li Yi trashes this idea and goes after Ludan himself. He is ready to die as long as he doesn't give Shadow control of his body again. Li Yi leaps into the air and whips out a spear, using the shadow energy. In addition to the risks attached to what he is about to do, he knows taking down the C-rank Minotaur will earn him a ton of rewards. Li Yi ignores all risks and dives straight for the steaming heat. Li Yi screams in pain as he breaks through Ludan's weak point. Ludan also feels the intense pain soaring through his body, and once he realizes that his HP is about to get to 0, he is forced to activate Berserker Rage. With the Berserker Rage active, he is able to stop Li Yi from totally ending him. He expels a ton of energy from his body that sends Li Yi flying. Li Yi crashes into the ground in pain. Ludan is pissed that a miner like Li Yi is pushing him to his limits. Ludan looks down on Li Yi, telling him that he has reached the end of the road. He is about to crush him when Li Yi feels a sudden burst of energy running through his body. Li Yi wonders where the power came from, and Shadow lets him know that the energy has always been inside him. Apparently, his body wasn't able to channel it because he had not been tempered by high heat. Shadow is impressed that Li Yi's risk has paid off, allowing him to unlock a new form of shadow energy. As the energy runs through his body, it heals him. Li Yi has finally awakened Shadow, even though he is still in the beginning tier. Li Yi stands there in awe, healing his own body while Ludan is worried, as he doesn't know how Li Yi is able to heal so quickly. Ludan can also sense the scary aura coming from Li Yi's body. Ludan can sense the danger of things, and he decides not to give Li Yi the chance to recover. Ludan unleashes his lava attack, but Li Yi anticipates this and moves backward. Ludan is shocked to see that Li Yi is keeping up with these attacks, and even better than before. At this point, Ludan is now worried as he questions Li Yi's authenticity of being an E-rank miner. To make things hard for Li Yi, Ludan transforms the entire floor into lava so she can see where Li Yi can run to. Li Yi dodges, but when he realizes that there is no way out, he stands on the lava to fight back. It turns out that the shadow enhancement is so powerful that Li Yi is basically walking on fire. He wonders how strong it would get when it reaches the highest level. Li Yi then teases Ludan, telling him that the fire is not enough. Ludan tries to prove himself by screaming, but Li Yi just stands there unfazed. After Ludan is done, Li Yi lets him know that it is time he shows him what real power looks like. With the power surging through him, Li Yi rushes over to the Minotaur at full speed, and before he can react, he chops off his arm. The enhancement has increased all of Li Yi's stats by 200%, which makes him more dangerous than he was. Ludan screams in agony and anger, roaring about his lost arm. Ludan angrily charges at Li Yi, who is just standing there to farm aura. Li Yi relieves him of his second arm to make sure it balances out. With the enhancement, Li Yi can even deal long-range damage. However, Ludan regrows his arms thanks to the lava. Ludan roars, making fun of Li Yi and telling him that as long as there is lava, he can regenerate infinitely. He calls Li Yi's attacks useless. However, Li Yi doesn't have the time to play around with Ludan, and he mentions that his energy is already weakening. Since this is what Li Yi believes, Ludan urges him to try and hit him. Li Yi accepts his challenge and moves at a great speed that Ludan cannot track. All he sees is Li Yi's purple trail as he deals damage to his body. Just then, Ludan feels something weak happening to him, and Li Yi grins, telling him that his energy is already at the limit. He urges him to surrender when he still can. Just then, Li Yi leaps into the air and dives toward Ludan, ready to finish him. Ludan sees and starts begging, reminding Li Yi that they didn't know each other before, so there is no need for them to kill each other. Li Yi agrees with this but lets Ludan know that Qin gave him 1 million yuan to protect her, and he aims to take the money. Immediately, Ludan drags them to the negotiation table, telling Li Yi that he is ready to give him 5 million yuan once they return to the city. Li Yi gives this a quick thought, and he asks Ludan if he will go back on his word when they return to the city. However, Li Yi is worried that this is exactly what Ludan will do, and might even come after him with reinforcements to terminate him. Ludan tries to plead his case, assuring Li Yi that he is not a scum who backstabs people. Li Yi smiles when he hears this, and reminds Ludan that he is a backstabber who needs to be handed over to Qin's father. He knows Qin's father would like to get his hands on the person who tried to eliminate his daughter. Li Yi points out that saving Qin and capturing an internal traitor would earn him a huge favor from the head of Longmen 3rd Street, who is Qin's father, and he lets Ludan know that this is worth more than the 5 million he is offering. When Ludan hears this, he realizes that falling into Mr. Qin's hands means death, but not only for him. His entire family will have to pay for his sins. Realizing that he has no way out, Ludan resorts to something drastic. He pulls out a blue shard, which Shadow recognizes as the shard of the gate to the other world. Shadow tells Li Yi that if Ludan manages to destroy the shard, the dungeon will lose its only connection to the outside world, causing the portal to vanish while everyone remains trapped in the dungeon forever. Li Yi is shocked by this, and Ludan smiles, telling Li Yi that he forced him to make a drastic decision. Li Yi immediately swings into action, and before Ludan can even crush the shard, Li Yi moves at great speed. He grabs the shard from Ludan, leaving him empty-handed. Ludan is shocked, but while he is still looking at his bare hand, Li Yi makes the move to finish him off. Li Yi breaks through his weak point, shattering every bit of energy left in Ludan. Ludan screams in agony as he crashes to the ground. After his defeat, the energy core inside his body emerges, and just then, the entire area starts to vibrate, and Shadow lets him know that the dungeon is collapsing because the Minotaur is dead. Li Yi and the other awakened warriors exit the dungeon before anything happens. The others talk about how scared they are when the entire dungeon starts shaking. They are glad that they managed to get out of the dungeon alive. Qin is impressed with Li Yi's feat and mentions that she never expected him to be strong way above his rank. She then offers him a deal, asking him if he is interested in joining Longmen 3rd Street, assuring him that her father will never mistreat him. Li Yi reveals that he has no intentions of joining any guild or faction at the moment, and he also begs Qin to keep his powers a secret. Qin agrees to this and hands him his 1 million yuan, telling him that he deserved it. Li Yi takes the money with gratitude, and he pulls out his giant sword, asking Qin if her faction has a sword like it. Qin checks it out, and she figures out that the sword doesn't have an energy signature, but the material used in making the sword is something else. Qin tells Li Yi that she will be taking the sword for appraisal, and she promises to pay him everything that the sword is worth. With this, Li Yi takes his leave. He easily figures out that Qin is knowledgeable when it comes to weapons. Li Yi is ready to see all his gear and equipment through her if she can get the proper value of the great sword. However, if she turns out to be like Wang and Zhou, Li Yi believes that he has already gotten a good deal from the 1 million yuan that he collected. Later that day, Li Yi checks out the shard of the gate to the other world, wondering if it is really important. Shadow then tells him that he can help him reach S rank or even higher if he manages to gather enough shards. Li Yi is interested in the offer since S rank doesn't seem like a bad deal. It turns out that Shadow is worried about the other world reappearing and realizes that he needs to get stronger, but the only way is through Li Yi. Shadow needs power because at some point they will have no choice but to fight very powerful beings who are way above their league. Shadow thinks of telling Li Yi but decides not to because it is too early. Shadow believes that this will scare him, and it is advisable that he just allows him to grow stronger first. With his fight against Ludan, he managed to acquire the Shadow Enhancement, which adds to his list of skills. Shortly afterward, Li Yi visits a rift zone owned by the NG group. The rift zone has been sealed off because of an accident, but Li Yi is surprised that they have a bunch of guards patrolling the zone. Li Yi assesses the situation and easily figures out that with his current level of strength, he doesn't have what it takes to get the truth yet. Shadow then asks Li Yi why he needs to investigate an E-rank rift zone. Li Yi reveals that the place holds the truth about the death of his parents. After his parents died, the NG group offered him 200,000 yuan as compensation for their deaths. They urged him to take the money and sign an accidental death acknowledgement. Li Yi is shocked when he sees this, and the supervisor asks him why he is acting so shocked. He wants to know if the money he offered is not enough for him. And this is when Li Yi mentions that he doesn't need money but wants to know the truth about what happened to his parents. The supervisor then tells Li Yi that his parents died in the mines due to an accident, but Li Yi protests against this, telling the supervisor that his parents were C-rank warriors and there is no way they could have died in an accident. Li Yi asks to enter the rift zone to look for them, believing that his parents were still alive. Li Yi gets screamed at by a tough dude who tells him that anything can happen in a rift zone. He says being a C-rank awakened doesn't make any difference to it. Li Yi is grabbed by his shirt while he screams, reminding everyone there that the rift zone was rated E-rank, which means the strongest monsters in there should not be more than E-rank. He also adds that they should have been able to retreat safely, even if they were attacked by monsters. The tough dude gets mad, asking Li Yi if he's trying to get more money out of the group. He raises his fist, ready to punch Li Yi into the ground. Just then, Ning, the chairman of the NG group, entered the room. Ning is an A-rank awakened, which makes him pretty strong and dangerous. Ning comes off as a nice man as he scolds his supervisor for treating the kid of the deceased like trash, which goes against what he told him. The supervisor stutters as he doesn't know how to defend his actions. Ning then walks up to Li Yi, telling him to take the 200,000 won. He knows it is not much, but he assures him that it will help him get through the tough time that he is facing. Li Yi maintained his stand, telling the chairman that he is not interested in the money, but the truth. After saying this, Ning assures him that he will investigate the rift and come to him with an answer. With this, Li Yi believes that Ning will actually help, since he promised to do so. However, he got hit with something else. He is charged with theft, and the group claimed that this was committed by his parents. For this, they demanded millions in compensation. Shadow understands his plight and mentions that without strength, the weak will always be oppressed. Shadow then urges him to get off his arse and gather more shards so he can get stronger. He assures him that once he is strong enough, all the truth that he wants to learn will be uncovered very easily. Li Yi already knows this because he is pretty sure no one would want to associate themselves with an E-rank loser like him. He wonders if Shadow is a good person or a bad person. He initially threatened to take over his body, but now he is helping him to level up. Li Yi wants to believe that Shadow is saying trash because he doesn't believe that he can help him get to S-rank fast. Shadow can hear all of his thoughts, and he crashes out, telling Li Yi to stop with his nonsense thoughts. He lets him know that he wouldn't have bothered to merge with him if he didn't see a semblance of talent in him. Li Yi tries to defend himself, saying he didn't even say anything. Li Yi thinks to himself yet again, wondering why he is crashing out. Just then, Li Yi gets a mission invite on his cell phone. Li Yi then heads to the chemical sector, which is a D-rank rift zone. At the entrance, the supervisor is not happy that Li Yi came late, and Li Yi apologizes, saying he was far away. Unknown to them, Li Yi rushed to the location from another E-rank rift zone. Just then, Li Yi spots a familiar person, Hao, whom he considers his uncle. He is surprised that Hao is also on the mission. Hao is happy to see Li Yi because it has been 5 years since they last saw each other, and this was after his parents' accident. The other awakened warriors on site are disappointed when they see Li Yi. They were already waiting for some powerful dude, but realizing that Li Yi is just a minor crushed their hopes. Part of the team members who will be participating in the mission are Gusan, Guda, and Gu-er, and they are all C-rank awakened warriors. The attendant to the mission tells the discontented awakened warriors that the mission involves mining and they didn't want to trouble the fighters with trash work, which is why they resorted to hiring a miner. The warriors then get serious, demanding that the attendant tell them what the mission is all about. He reveals that they will be entering a dimensional rift zone, which is rated D-rank. Their mission is to locate the cold crystal ore and extract 60 kilograms of it. Li Yi is surprised that the mission is rated D-rank, but they have 4 C-rank warriors available to enter. He believes that this is suspicious, and judging by the hostility radiating from the dudes, Li Yi can easily figure out that they are the worst of the bunch. The last dude on the team is Hazy, and he is also a C-rank warrior. In addition to everything he has noticed, Li Yi can sense that there is another C-rank presence in the rift zone. Meanwhile, they are being watched by the second-in-command of the Black Panther gang, and he is a ferocious dude known as Blood Panther. Momentarily, they enter the rift zone, and Uncle Hao is surprised that Li Yi is not wearing a protective suit. Li Yi then tells the man that there is no need for this since he is already an awakened warrior and he doesn't need a suit. The C-rank awakened warriors laugh when they hear this, calling Li Yi a rare breed because they have not seen an awakened miner before. The trio, who seem to be brothers, make fun of Li Yi, calling him the biggest of all the trash dudes out there. Hao quickly turns to Li Yi, urging him not to mind whatever they are saying, and Li Yi assures the man that he is not foolish enough to try anything. As they continue their journey, Li Yi figures out that the woods and the bushes are all arranged in a way that makes it easy for someone to hide. Li Yi is also getting the chills that something sinister is watching them, or at least lurking around. Suddenly, the faint aura passes him by, and Li Yi figures out that whatever is watching them can't wait to get them. Li Yi takes a look around and realizes that Hazy is being careful, which means he has also gotten the feeling that something is off. Hazy wonders if he is trying to hide and observe from the shadows, or if there is something else going on that he hasn't figured out yet. Li Yi and Hao soon get screamed at by the Gu brothers, who urge them to move faster. Hao doesn't want any trouble, and he urges Li Yi to walk faster. Li Yi then decides to use this to his advantage. He wants to run ahead faster and hide so he can investigate whatever it is that is happening. He picks up the pace, and when he realizes that Hao can't keep up, he grabs him. He dashes off at a great speed, shocking the Gu brothers, who start to wonder how an E-rank miner is able to move at such an insane speed. One of the brothers wants to stop the two, but his other brother tells him not to worry. Since the two are weak, he believes that they are just going to meet their deaths ahead. Meanwhile, Blood Panther is right above the Gu brothers, and he is wondering where the others are. He believed that they had sensed danger and disappeared. Even with this, he is not worried since he believes that they are only making the game fun for him. Just then, one of the Gu brothers mentions that there is something off about the mission because he has been getting the weird feeling that they are being watched since the very beginning. The leader urges him to stop being paranoid because it is just a D-rank mission, and since they are all C-rank awakened warriors, he believes that there is nothing they can't handle. However, the third dude agrees with what the first one says, revealing that there is a weird feeling in the air. He suggests that they should turn back, but the first brother urges the third brother to stop being paranoid. Suddenly, the third brother gets caught in the Blood Panther's blood webs, shocking the other two. The two jump backward when they see this, and Blood Panther asks the third brother why he is trying to leave when the game has just begun. It turns out that the trio is familiar with Blood Panther and his tactics. The first brother urges Blood Panther to release his third brother and mention whatever it is that he wants. At this point, the third brother is already panicking as he asks his brothers for help. Blood Panther then reveals that the trio has been getting on the nerves of the Black Panther gang over and over again. Because of this, he lets them know that there is nothing to talk about. Since he already has his claws in the third brother, it makes it easy for him to cut him into pieces like he is nothing. The second brother gets mad as he watches his brother die. He dashes toward Blood Panther, telling him that he is going to fight him till death. The first brother tries warning the second brother of the dangers, but it is already too late as he gets himself caught up in the Blood Panther's trap. The second brother has his entire body in the Panther's web trap, and the Blood Panther makes fun of him, telling him that he is not qualified to fight him. Without moving an inch, Blood Panther cuts the second brother to shreds right in front of the first brother. Fear cripples the first brother, and he basically calls Blood Panther a freaking monster. The first brother gets scared and makes a run for it, but this only excites the Blood Panther, who tells the first brother that scared prey is the most delicious of all. As he runs through the woods, he screams for help. Later on, Li Yi and Hao sit down to rest. Hao asks Li Yi why he left the awakened warriors behind. Li Yi then asks Hao if he has offended anyone lately. Maybe someone from a powerful faction or group. Hao replies that he is just a simple miner and he has no reason to offend anyone. Hao asks him why he would think such a thing, and Li Yi simply replies that the mission they have been given is a death trap. Li Yi figures out that someone is planning to wipe them all out in the zone. Hao gets scared when he hears this, and Li Yi urges him to tell him if there is anything that he has done wrong. While the two are discussing, the first Gu brother reaches their location, breathing heavily like a cheetah. The first brother gets mad that Li Yi knew that something was off from the start and he didn't say anything. He blames Li Yi for his brother's deaths. Li Yi then stands up to look cooler before dissing Gu and saying he is not completely useless. Li Yi is glad that Gu was able to lead him straight to the enemy before he died. The first brother is confused by this, and he asks Li Yi what he means. Li Yi repeats himself, telling Gu that he is about to die. Suddenly, Gu feels Blood Panther's web all over him, leaving him shocked because he didn't know when it all happened. Blood Panther is excited that Li Yi is an interesting person for a random miner. Li Yi immediately activates his ultimate Shadow Eye as he prepares to engage the deadly Blood Panther. When Hao senses the incoming danger, he begs Black Panther to let them live, mentioning that they are just random miners who have never crossed him. Blood Panther admits that Hao has never crossed him, and he never would have been on his target list if he had not allowed something to slip out of his mouth when he was drunk some days ago. Apparently, Blood Panther is C-rank awakened, but his technique to manipulate blood makes him dangerous. Hao begs Blood Panther, assuring him that he is going to take his secret to the grave. He lets Blood Panther know that he will never tell anyone about what happened. Blood Panther smiles evilly, telling Hao that there is one truth that he believes in. Li Yi immediately figures out that Blood Panther is about to do something crazy. He screams at Hao to watch himself, but he can't react in time and he gets hit in the shoulder with Blood Panther's blood spike. Blood Panther reveals that the only thing he believes to be the truth is that the dead don't talk. Li Yi is pissed and whips out 2 daggers to go after Blood Panther. Blood Panther admits that he never thought Li Yi would have some insane skills since he is just a regular miner. He finally understands how he was able to take down Zhou. Li Yi finds himself getting webbed over by Blood Panther's blood. Just as he is about to reach Blood Panther, he swings his hand so hard that he plans to decapitate Li Yi, but he manages to jump out of the way in time. Blood Panther doesn't hold back as he continues the hunt, telling Li Yi that he is ready to send him to the afterlife since he is so eager to go there. Realizing that Blood Panther is coming at him with very serious intentions to kill, Li Yi activates the Shadow Enhancement. He manages to block some of Blood Panther's attacks, but most of them get through, leaving Li Yi in disbelief. He can't believe that even with his Shadow Enhancement on, he can't block Blood Panther's attacks. Blood Panther gets the edge when he notices that Li Yi is zoned out. Blood Panther smacks him so hard that he gets sent into a tree. Hao screams Li Yi's name to check if he is fine, but Li Yi urges Hao to stay back. Li Yi figures out that he can't win by getting close to Blood Panther, and the only solution to the problem is to change his tactics. Blood Panther assures Li Yi and Hao that they have nothing to worry about because they are definitely dying that very day. Li Yi then activates his ultimate Shadow Eye, and he combines it with the Shadow Morph to produce daggers. Li Yi then launches them at Blood Panther, who just stands there unbothered, asking Li Yi if that is all he has to offer. Li Yi replies that he still has more in the bank. He leaps into the air and dives straight for Blood Panther. Blood Panther smiles when he sees this, admitting that Li Yi has loads of tactics for a regular miner. However, Blood Panther is way above his league. He swings his hands in preparation to finish Li Yi off, but this is when the ground beside him cracks open, and one of the Goo brothers appears like the Elastic Man. He wraps himself around Blood Panther, telling him to die, but Blood Panther is not surprised because he already knew he was around. He was only waiting to see when the dude would make his move. Blood Panther then tells the dude that his power is a weakness because he is fighting the wrong opponent. He reminds the Goo dude that close combat is his strength and domain. The dude realizes his mistake, but it was already too late, and Blood Panther skewers him into pieces using his blood skill. Li Yi cannot believe that a C-rank awakened was easily taken out. He puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that he is way weaker than the C-rank, who just got killed. He grabs Hao, telling him that their best bet would be to run away before they get skewered just like the Goo brother. Blood Panther laughs when he realizes that the two are trying to run away, and he lets them know that there is no room for escape. Li Yi and Hao manage to get to a safe distance, and Li Yi tends to his wounds. He tells Hao that he needs to check out his wounds first. He wants them to wait till nightfall before he finds a way out for them. Hao then suggests that Li Yi leave him behind because trying to drag him along will only slow him down. Li Yi then asks the man what he did and why the Blood Panther is so determined to terminate him. Hao takes a deep breath before finally revealing that he has somehow gotten the truth about his parents' death. Li Yi hears this and immediately goes into overdrive, asking Hao to repeat what he just said. Li Yi grabs Hao, asking him if he knows anything about the truth. Hao mentions that he didn't know at first, but now that the Blood Panther is after him, it has basically confirmed what he knows. Hao reveals that before the accident that took his parents from him, his father had suspected that a dude from the NG group, Kui Shi Hao, was conducting experiments in the mining area. It was a few days after this suspicion that his parents died in the mining accident, and they were framed for stealing the ore. Li Yi holds on to Hao, asking him why he didn't say anything back then. Hao confesses that he was scared because he was just a regular miner who didn't want to lose his job since he had a family to support. Li Yi is disgusted by this, and he mentions that Hao stood by while his parents were suffering from injustice. Hao lets Li Yi know that he was dying of guilt too, which was why he had too many drinks and ended up drunk. In the process, he complained to someone, which is why he has found himself in this dire position that he is in. Before he can say anything else, Blood Panther's webs latch onto him and grab him. Just before Blood Panther cuts him into shreds, Hao begs Li Yi to forgive him and not to hold a grudge against him. After he kills Hao, Blood Panther laughs evilly, saying he has finally realized why Li Yi looked familiar. He figures out that Li Yi is the son of the C-rank who died in the accident. Since this is the case, Blood Panther decides that it would be best if he sends him to join his dead parents in the afterlife. Li Yi is already pissed, and he doesn't hold back as the two of them charge at each other. The two unleash their attacks at each other, but Li Yi's hands get cut. Blood Panther makes fun of Li Yi, asking him how he felt as his flesh and blood scattered everywhere. Li Yi gets cut all over, but he lets Blood Panther know that his blood web is not actually invincible. Li Yi whips out the greatsword because he has a plan. He has already figured out that whenever Blood Panther attacks, he becomes vulnerable. Li Yi uses this to his advantage and swings his sword so hard that he almost catches Blood Panther. Blood Panther is forced to step back when he realizes that he has been cut. Blood Panther is hurt, and he admits that Li Yi is ruthless for allowing himself to get hurt just so he can land his own hit. Li Yi falls to his knees as he breathes heavily. A portion of his shoulder is missing, and he starts to wonder if he has reached his limit. When Blood Panther realizes that Li Yi is struggling to get up, he smiles, telling Li Yi that he already had him on his toes. Blood Panther admits that he would definitely have died in his hands if he weren't an E-rank awakened. Blood Panther grabs Li Yi with his blood webs and hangs him up while taunting him. Just then, Blood Panther notices that Li Yi is tweaking his eyes, and he laughs at him, asking him if he is trying to kill him with his eyes. Blood Panther tells Li Yi that he is only more excited to kill Li Yi. To punish Li Yi further, Blood Panther decides to tell him a secret. Blood Panther mentions that Hao was half right with his suspicions. However, Li Yi's parents didn't die in the mining accident. Blood Panther reveals the grim truth, and this is the fact that his parents died at his hands. Li Yi hears this, and his facial expression immediately switches up. But this is what Blood Panther wants, and he decides to add more fuel to the fire. He tells Li Yi that his father had the same look as him when he killed his mother. Blood Panther says the dude just watched while he cut his wife into pieces. Blood Panther soon gets the crazy part of Li Yi that he wants when he realizes that his threads are being burned away. All of his threads get burned out, and a dark purple aura swirls around Li Yi's body. With this aura, Shadow is standing behind Li Yi, and Li Yi promises Blood Panther that he is dead meat. Shadow is impressed with the latest development. He confirms his suspicion that Li Yi can actually use hatred to stimulate the shadow energy running through his body. Because of the sudden enhancement burning through his body, the system is forced to make some corrections, and by the time the correction is done, Li Yi is upgraded to a C rank awakened. Li Yi also awakened a new skill called Shadow Jaunt. With this skill, his body can slip into any shadow and emerge from any other connected shadow. When Blood Panther sees that all of Li Yi's injuries are gone, he starts to wonder if the kid has healing powers too. Blood Panther is not scared, as he believes that Li Yi is only struggling because he is on the brink of death. He unleashes his blood webs at Li Yi, but Li Yi remains cool in the face of adversity, smiling at Blood Panther's choice of words to call him prey. Suddenly, Li Yi appears behind Blood Panther using his new skill, Shadow Jaunt. Blood Panther hears Li Yi's voice echoing behind him, telling him that he is the prey. Blood Panther is gripped with fear as he starts to question how Li Yi's strength was able to grow so much in a short space of time. Blood Panther admits that Li Yi's speed is quite impressive. However, he thinks Li Yi's speed is not enough to kill him. He swings his hands very hard trying to decapitate Li Yi while his guard is down, but Li Yi easily dodges the strike. Li Yi then leaps into the air and unleashes a wave of dagger swarms on the Blood Panther. Blood Panther smiles, telling Li Yi that the move is pretty useless against him. However, Li Yi has another plan up his sleeve. It turns out that he can also teleport using thrown weapons. Li Yi teleports to one of the daggers flying toward Blood Panther, cutting the distance between them before he can even react. Blood Panther is shocked to see this, wondering what sort of power it is that Li Yi wields. Li Yi tries to hit Blood Panther on the head, but his blood webs block the attack. Blood Panther laughs at Li Yi, telling him that his attack is pretty useless because it can't even break his defense. Li Yi then tells Blood Panther he wasn't trying to break his defense in the first place. Before Blood Panther knows what is happening, Li Yi has appeared behind him. Li Yi tells Blood Panther that he has no way of handling both defense and offense at the same time. This is simply because the speed at which he controls his blood webs can't keep up with his reaction speed. Li Yi mentions that this is basically Blood Panther's weakness. Before Blood Panther knows it, Li Yi has delivered several deadly cuts to his body. Blood Panther coughs up blood while declaring that it is impossible for Li Yi to defeat him. Blood Panther crashes to the ground while wondering how he is able to lose to a lowly miner. Instead of finishing him off, Li Yi asks him about the mining accident since he wants to know the truth about everything that happened. Blood Panther thinks Li Yi is joking around, and he tries to trash talk his mother, but this causes him to immediately lose his left arm. Blood Panther screams in pain as his arm falls to the ground. Li Yi lets Blood Panther know that he is running out of patience. Blood Panther then mentions that it was all Kui Shihao's doing. It turns out that Li Yi's father stumbled upon his experiment, and because Kui was afraid that the matter would be exposed, he had Blood Panther and his gang kill his parents. He then faked the mining accident to cover it all up. Li Yi's face lights up in anger, and Blood Panther continues by saying Kui Shihao is from the NG group. Blood Panther believes that Li Yi is scared when he hears the name. Blood Panther gets on his feet and starts boasting, telling Li Yi to let him go before he regrets his actions. However, he has not finished saying this when his head flies off his shoulders. Li Yi turns around, looking all cool and scary. He reveals his determination to kill every person who is involved in his parents' deaths. Later on, Li Yi heads to the NG Group headquarters. He hides somewhere to watch Kui Shihao enter his vehicle while he is escorted by his men. Shadow lets Li Yi know that he is still no match for Kui, even though he has reached C rank. Shadow mentions that there is an A rank awakened nearby, and Li Yi says he is aware of this fact. Apparently the chairman of the group, Ning, is also in the car that Kui Shihao is entering. Li Yi assures Shadow that he is not stupid enough to make a move on Kui Shihao. In addition to this, he is not ready to completely trust Blood Panther's words. Li Yi is ready to investigate the entire thing by himself and determine if Kui Shihao is truly involved or if the entire group is behind what happened. Li Yi really wishes that Ning were not involved because he won't care if he is A rank or not. Li Yi let it be known that a debt of blood can only be repaid by blood, and this shows how determined and driven he is. Li Yi follows the car to a Black Panther gang's warehouse. Li Yi is confused as to why Kui Shihao will be visiting the gang's warehouse. Inside the warehouse, Kui asks Black Panther if Hao is dead. The dude reveals that Blood Panther is missing and the gate that he infiltrated has also disappeared. Because of this, there is no confirmation as to whether Hao is dead or not. Kui is surprised to hear this. He is puzzled about the entire thing because Blood Panther is a C-rank awakened. Black Panther believes that Blood Panther underestimated his opponent because among those he was supposed to kill were 4 C-rank awakened warriors. There is a bunch of equipment in the warehouse that is covered by clothes, and Kui urges Black Panther to move them quickly to avoid delays. Kui reveals that the experiment is getting to the critical stage, so there can't be any room for mistakes. Black Panther asks Kui if the money is ready, and Kui urges him not to worry about the money. Meanwhile, Li Yi is hiding behind some containers, and he has finally figured out that Kui Shihao was truly involved. Suddenly, Black Panther gets the sense that they are being watched. He angrily unleashes a fire attack toward the containers, but before the attack hits, Li Yi disappears into the shadows. Kui is forced to ask Black Panther what the problem is. Black Panther stands there trying to understand if it was his imagination playing tricks on him because he clearly felt a wave of killing intent some seconds ago. It turns out that Li Yi escaped behind another bunch of containers. He realizes how close he was to getting discovered. It dawns on him that his C-rank strength is not actually enough. The next morning, Li Yi heads to the Qin headquarters. Shadow is surprised to see that Li Yi is not looking for available missions, but he has come to the Qin headquarters. Shadow asks him what he is doing at the headquarters, and Li Yi reveals that he is at the headquarters to find the 3rd fragment, and in addition to this, he wants to see how much the big sword is worth. Upon entering the building, an attendant walks up to him, asking him if there is anything she can do to help him. Li Yi then reveals that he is looking for Miss Qin. The attendant asks him if he has an appointment to see her. She is about to continue with her explanation when a dude in a white suit enters the building, accompanied by his girlfriend. The girlfriend turns out to be the trash, Su Qing. The lady calls Li Yi a poor miner who has no place in the building. She also trash talks him for saying Qin's name with no respect. It turns out that the dude with her is also a member of the Qin family. The lady urges the dude to throw Li Yi out of the building. Li Yi cannot believe that this is how the Longmen 3rd Street behaves whenever they see a guest. The rude girl makes fun of Li Yi, telling him that he is not worth the hospitality provided by the group. The Qin dude then adds that Li Yi is not worth being his dog. Li Yi is left to wonder if everyone in the family has an issue with arrogance. Realizing that things have gone south, Li Yi decides that there is no need for him to contact Qin again. With this, he turns around to leave, but the arrogant Qin dude decides to take things further. He orders his men to go after Li Yi, and just as they all charge toward him, he uses the Shadow Jaunt skill and disappears right in front of them. Li Yi appears right in front of the Qin dude and grabs him on the jaw. Su Qing starts trash-talking again, demanding that Li Yi let the arrogant Qin go, or else the entire Qin family will not take things easy with him. Li Yi is tired of hearing the girl talk trash, and he throws the arrogant Qin at her. Qin falls on her, and they both crash to the ground. Li Yi stands amidst the guards that he has defeated, and he tells the arrogant Qin that he is only letting him go because of his sister, Qin Xiyin. Just then, the dude in a white suit appears right behind Li Yi, threatening to kill him. He unleashes his firepower and dives straight for Li Yi. Li Yi whips out his dagger, ready to decapitate the attacking fellow. Before he gets to do this, the masked dude, who was with Qin Xiyin before, shows up. He jumps between them and stops the two from attacking each other. Momentarily, a terrifying white-haired lady, Qin Xiyin, appears behind Li Yi, telling him that he must be very brave or foolish to have decided to cause trouble at the headquarters. The dude in a suit screams at Li Yi, telling him that he is dead because he caused trouble at the headquarters. Surprisingly, Qin Xiyin just demands that they throw him out of the building. The dude believes that this is letting Li Yi off too easily and wants to protest the decision, but the dude in a mask just lifts him up from behind like he is nothing. This shocks the dude in a suit as he asks the lady why he is the one getting picked up. He tries telling Qin Xiyin that he is her cousin, and he mentions his name just in case she has forgotten him. Even Su Qing is shocked as she tries to explain the situation, telling the white-haired lady that Li Yi was the one who caused trouble. She claims that Li Yi blatantly called her name, and her boyfriend only wanted to avenge her honor. Just then, Qin Xiyin mentions that Li Yi is her friend, and she doesn't see any problem with him mentioning her name. Su Qing is shocked to hear this, but before anything else, Qin Xiyin orders that the guards throw out her cousin's friends. Suqing is grabbed by one of the guards, and as they carry her outside, she screams at the top of her voice, reminding the dude in a suit that she is his girlfriend. She wants the dude to speak up for her since she gave up everything for him. Qin Xian then turns to the dude and tells him to stop dragging the Qin's family name through the mud. She lets him know that she is not going to forgive any other offense from him. After she is done with the troublemakers, Qin Xian walks up to Li Yi with a smile on her face, telling him that she didn't expect him to come. Since he is there already, she urges him to enter and take his seat. It turns out that the dude who caused all the trouble was just a dude from the branch of the family. Qin Xian apologizes for this, and Li Yi assures her that it is all good since every family has a dude who is annoying. Just as she is leading him to her office, an attendant comes to inform Qin Xian that the president wants to see her. Qin Xian tells Li Yi to have a seat while she talks to her father. As they walk away, Xian asks the attendant if the president wants to see her for something important, but she replies that she has no idea. She mentions that the president only asked to see her, and she quickly came to get her. Moments later, a scary giant old man approaches Li Yi, asking him who he is. Li Yi puts his shadow eye to the task to know who the old man is. From the shadow eye analysis, he realizes that the old man is an A-rank awakened and has 2 sets of skills up his sleeve. Li Yi is blown away by this, and he quickly smiles before telling the man that he is just a minor. Li Yi can feel the pressure coming from the man, and even the shadow enhancement is having difficulties blocking it. On the other hand, the man is impressed that his skill, the Eye of Deterrence, was not able to instill fear in Li Yi. The man refuses to believe that Li Yi is just a minor, and he unleashes his golden aura, letting off a whole lot of pressure. The pressure from the aura hits Li Yi, but thanks to his shadow enhancement, he is able to tank the hit. The man is surprised that Li Yi was able to withstand his blow because only a B rank at least would have been able to. The man wants to know more about Li Yi because he is definitely not a minor. He tells him to tell the truth because he would like to know his motive for getting close to Qin Xian. He lets him know that he is going to be rough with him if he doesn't confess. Just then, Qin Xian shows up and grabs the dude by his ear. It turns out that his name is Qin Shaoshang, and he is also a member of the family. Qin Xian screams at him, asking him if he doesn't have anything better to do with his time. Surprisingly, he is not just any member of the family, but Qin Xian's father. Qin Xian then drags her father out of the room by his ear, telling him not to disturb her friend again. Li Yi cannot believe that he just met with the president of Longmen 3rd Street. After the man is gone, Qin Xian bows to Li Yi, apologizing to him and letting him know that her father has always been like that. He believes that anyone who gets close to his daughter has impure intentions. Li Yi is not offended as he understands that the man is just trying to protect his daughter from scumbags. Meanwhile, the president is still standing by the door, watching the two. He is so overprotective of his daughter that he is already thinking of things to do in case something goes wrong. Apparently, he had Qin Xian very late in life, and he has been raising her for the past 16 years. But he is not about to watch and let someone just whisk his daughter away. Li Yi can literally hear everything the man is saying, and Qin Xian screams at her father, telling him to get lost. Once they sit down to talk, Qin Xian gives Li Yi a card that is worth $5 million. Apparently the sword is a bit special, but the client wants to do a proper appraisal before setting a specific price for it. Li Yi assures Qin Xian that he has no problem with any arrangement that is done, but he actually came to the headquarters for something else. Li Yi brings out the shard and asks Qin Xian if she knows if there is anywhere else he can get the shard. Xian reveals that the shard was common in the past, but recently it has become very rare because someone has been buying them and storing them in large quantities. Xian then tells him that he might try the auction at Longmen 3rd Street, and he might get lucky to find one there. Li Yi takes the advice and thanks Xian for it. Shadow wonders if it is related to the people he is going after. Later on, the dude in a mask gathers information on Li Yi. He learns that Li Yi has always been an ordinary person, and because of this, he was only classified as an E-rank awakened. But because there was no trace of special energy in him, he was still given the title of a minor. After giving the president all the info he has, the president wonders how Li Yi was able to jump from E-rank to C-rank in a couple of days. He wants to believe that Li Yi has been hiding his strength all along. Just then his phone rings, and it turns out to be one of his clients, Huo. Xiaoshang picks up the call, asking Huo why he called him. Huo then asks Xiaoshang if he still has more of the great swords that his daughter sent to him. Xiaoshang says he is not sure but asks Huo why he is asking for the sword. Huo then urges Xiaoshang to ask if there are still any left because he is ready to buy them all. Xiaoshang presses further, asking Huo if the sword has some special attribute to it. Huo says he can't say much about it, but he can assure him that the sword has what it takes to raise the overall strength of their army. Xiaoshang is shocked to hear this, and he realizes that Li Yi's strength and identity are a mystery, and even the weapon he casually whips out is out of the ordinary. The old man agrees that Li Yi is truly complex to figure out. Later on, Li Yi attends the auction, and he comes across a bunch of rare fragments. This raises his hope that the shard he is looking for might also be present there. Li Yi finds Zhou and Su Qing at the auction. Su Qing is seen wrapping her body all around Zhou, telling him she has nothing to do with the dude from the Qin branch family. She assures Zhou that she has also quit her job at Qin Corporation just so she can get away from him. Zhou is happy that his girlfriend has quit her job, and he assures her that he is going to take care of her. When Zhou sees Li Yi at the auction, he is surprised, and he just assumes that Black Panther hasn't made a move against him. Zhou decides to be a piece of trash again, asking Li Yi how a minor like him managed to sneak into the auction. Li Yi turns around to look at Zhou, telling him that he must be suffering from amnesia. He says Zhou must have forgotten what it felt like to be slapped by him some days ago. Li Yi unleashes a terrifying aura from his body that scares Zhou, and he starts begging Li Yi not to come close to him. Suddenly, Black Panther shows up on the scene and tells Zhou that he is a real disgrace to the gang. Black Panther walks toward Li Yi, telling him that slapping Zhou is the same as embarrassing the Black Panther gang. Black Panther grabs him by the shoulder and exerts so much force on him, demanding that he get on his knees to apologize. The pressure from Black Panther is enough to crack the ground under Li Yi's feet. Li Yi smiles, telling Black Panther that he should keep dreaming about him kneeling down to apologize. Black Panther grins, admitting that he didn't expect someone like Li Yi to be so tough. Zhou then decides to jump into the conversation, telling Li Yi to know his place and get on his knees. Just then, Qin Xian and her masked guard arrive on the scene. Qin Xian lets Black Panther know that he is free to come to the auction as long as he is there to spend money. However, if he tries to start a fight, the group will be ready to take him on. Black Panther laughs, and he takes his hand off Li Yi, telling Xian that he will respect her for the day. Black Panther then calls Zhou and his girlfriend to follow him. Qin Xian walks up to Li Yi, asking him if he is fine, and he assures her that he is good. As they walk away, Black Panther asks Zhou a surprising question. He asks Zhou how he managed to get on Li Yi's bad side. Zhou then lies that Li Yi is the one who stole the precious sword he wanted to give Black Panther as a tribute. He reminds Black Panther that he was also the one who boasted that he was going to wipe out the gang. Black Panther immediately grabs Zhou by the shirt and he holds him up, asking him if he is sure about what he is saying. Zhou says yes, and Su Qing quickly contributes to the conversation, saying she can testify that he was the one. Momentarily, Kui walks up to Black Panther, asking him what the problem is. Black Panther reveals that Li Yi was one of Blood Panther's targets, and he still doesn't know how he is alive. Kui immediately comes up with the possibility that Li Yi was the one who killed Blood Panther. Zhou argues this, saying Li Yi is just an E-rank piece of trash. He believes that there is no way he is a match for their second-in-command. Li Yi turns around to see Kui Shihao, and he is filled with rage again. He unleashes a very terrifying aura, and when Kui takes a better look at Li Yi, he realizes that he knew Li Yi as a weak kid. Confusion and curiosity are written all over his face. Li Yi then asks Qin Xian why she came to the auction. She reveals that her father was the reason she came because he insisted that he would like to see Li Yi. Li Yi is shocked when he hears this because he knows what happened the last time, and he asks Qin Xian if the old man will attack him again, but she assures him that he will not dare to attack Li Yi since she is present at the event. Just then, they walk past Kui, and Kui reveals his shock at seeing Li Yi at the auction. Sarcastically, Li Yi mentions that he is just a lowly character, forced to work in the mines to pay off his debt. Li Yi then says there is no world where he is supposed to meet a high-level executive like Kui. Kui tries to shift the blame, saying the decision on how to handle his parents' case was made by the higher-ups. Kui claims that he wanted to help Li Yi, but he was basically powerless, and his opinions also did not matter. Li Yi then smiles, telling Kui that he has taken away all responsibility for things from himself. However, Li Yi says Kui knows in his heart what the truth is. Just before he finally walks away, Li Yi tells Kui that he has a message for him from Hao. He tells Kui that the truth will always come out and that no matter how many wicked things he does, he will always face retribution. Black Panther is pissed when he hears this, and he declares that Li Yi needs to be taught a lesson. However, Kui stops him from doing anything rash, reminding him that they are in Qin Shaoshang's territory and they can't do anything. However, Kui tells Black Panther to send someone to eliminate Li Yi, since he already knows the truth that they are desperately trying to hide. Black Panther acknowledges the order, assuring Kui that he is going to make arrangements for this immediately. Xian then takes Li Yi to see her father. Meanwhile, the auction has started. Xian assures Li Yi that she will let him know if there is anything that interests him at the auction. In the meantime, she urges Li Yi to have a chat with her father. After Qin Xian is gone, Li Yi stares at the president and reveals that he is surprised that he has been summoned by him. Shaoshang then goes straight to the point, asking Li Yi if he still has more of the weapons he gave to Xian. Li Yi is shocked to see that Shaoshang is particularly interested in the weapons that belong to the Entropic clan. Li Yi is ready to bring out as many weapons as he can, but he decides to hold some back to make sure that they stay rare and command more money. Li Yi tells Qin Xiaoshang that he came across the weapon by chance, and he currently has 2 more of the weapons with him. Xiaoshang then makes Li Yi a crazy offer. He tells Li Yi that he is willing to give him 45 million yuan for the 3 weapons, and this includes the one he has previously given to them. Li Yi admits that 15 million per weapon is a good deal, but he reminds the president that weapons are a source of livelihood for people like him. Xiaoshang knows he's about to hear a change in price, and he asks Li Yi what price he is suggesting. Li Yi wastes no time telling Xiaoshang that he wants 25 million yuan for each of the weapons. Xiaoshang is shocked when he hears this, and he admits that Li Yi has some nerves under him. Just then, Xian enters the room, telling Li Yi that the item he wanted has appeared on the auction list. Xian also uses her influence to make her father agree to what Li Yi wants. Xiaoshang tells Li Yi that he will transfer 70 million to him at that moment and pay the rest later. Xian takes Li Yi to the auction room and points to the item he is interested in. Everyone starts bidding on the shard, and Li Yi is quite impressed that they have one of the shards with them. Since he has over 70 million with him, he believes that this should be enough to win the item. Li Yi wastes no time bidding 30 million so he can intimidate the other buyers and get them to back off. However, bidding 30 million takes a huge chunk of his finances. When Black Panther realizes that Li Yi is the one who is bidding for the shard, he wonders why he is bidding on the shard specifically. The host is about to announce Li Yi as the winner when Kui raises his card, bidding 50 million right off the bat. He wants to see how much money Li Yi has to compete with him. Li Yi then counters the offer by bidding 60 million too. Even Qin Siyin is shocked when she sees this. Xiaoshang also advises Li Yi not to squander the money he just earned on an item that isn't worth it. Xian agrees with her father, telling Li Yi that Kui is intentionally driving up the price. Apparently, the shard didn't usually sell more than 10 million in the past. However, Li Yi is not about to give up since he is ready to put his last penny up to make sure that he gets the shard. Li Yi then decides to play a very smart game. He turns to Xian and her father, telling them that he would like to know who is the richest between the NG group and the Qin group. Xiaoshang tells Li Yi that his group is far richer than the NG group, but he wants to know why he should help Li Yi. Li Yi then tells Xiaoshang that he has no choice but to help him because he has the swords he desperately wants. At this point, Kui has already bid 70 million for the shard. Xiaoshang says he will take 2 of the swords for the previous price, but he believes that Li Yi still doesn't have enough to compete. Li Yi then assures Xiaoshang that no matter where the bid ends, he is able to produce the number of swords to cover the cost. Xiaoshang is shocked to hear this, and he starts to wonder if Li Yi truly has more of the swords with him. The host is about to declare Kui the winner, and Xian notices that her father is still contemplating what to do. She grabs her father's ear, asking him why he is being fussy over a small amount of money. She assures him that she will pay him the money if Li Yi can't produce the weapons needed to cover the cost. Xiaoshang is forced to agree to the deal, and just as they are about to declare Kui the winner, Xian drags Li Yi outside so he can make a counterbid. Li Yi is totally blown away by the amount of money that the rich people have because 100 million is nothing to them. Li Yi then rushes to the balcony to raise his hand and bid 100 million for the item. At the same time, Kui is desperate to get the shard because he needs it for the project he is working on. Kui immediately doubles the bid, putting up 200 million. Li Yi follows suit, and he bids 300 million for the shard. This bidding war continues, leaving the other guests totally stunned as they believe that Li Yi and Kui have gone crazy. This creates a discussion among the other guests who don't think the shard is worth the amount they are bidding for it. One of them concludes that the 2 bidders are just engaging in a bidding war and it is no longer about the value of the shard. Black Panther tells Kui that Li Yi is clearly against them, but Kui is confident that Li Yi can't keep up. Kui soon raises the bid to 1 billion, shocking everyone in the room. Xian figures out that Kui is just provoking them at this point. However, Li Yi doesn't think this is the case. He knows Kui very well, and he knows that he won't spend so much on an impulse. This is when it dawns on Li Yi that there is more to the reason why Kui is bidding so much money for the item. Xiaoshang comes over again to tell Li Yi to think his decision through. He mentions that the bid is already at 1 billion, and he doubts that Li Yi can produce that many weapons. Xian then cuts in, telling her father that she has already promised to cover whatever is left, and she urges him to stop disturbing them. Xian pushes Li Yi, telling him to bid more before Kui wins the shard. Just then, Li Yi raises his hand and doubles Kui's offer, bidding 2 billion for the shard. Kui is shocked when he hears this, and he takes a moment to think about his next decision. Black Panther is left wondering how Li Yi got his hands on so much money. Kui then reveals that there is no other explanation other than Xiaoshang, because there is no way Li Yi can get his hands on 2 billion. Kui is extremely furious at this point, but he no longer has the power to bid, and Li Yi wins the bid. Xian is glad that Li Yi won the bid, and she hugs him. Even Li Yi is surprised that Xian is excited. Xian then reveals that she loves it when bad guys lose. While the two are still celebrating, Xiaoshang kills the mood again, telling Li Yi that he now has to produce 70 great swords. He wants to know if Li Yi can truly produce such a high number of weapons. Li Yi replies that things are precious when they are rare because too many of something causes the price to reduce. Li Yi doesn't consider the swords very precious again, and he immediately summons over 100 swords right in the room. Li Yi tells Xiaoshang that the swords he has just produced should be enough to cover his 2 billion fee. Xiaoshang smiles when he sees this, and he admits that Li Yi is a straightforward kid. Xiaoshang figures out that Li Yi is a rare gem, and it would be a blessing if he could work for him. Just as he is about to leave, Xian lets Li Yi know that he can always call on her whenever he has something crazy that he wants to do. Meanwhile, Xiaoshang is having different thoughts in his head about Li Yi. He immediately tells Xian that it is time they head home because he is trying to prevent Li Yi from stealing his daughter away from him. They tell Li Yi that he can head to the auction office and pick up the item that he won directly. Li Yi thanks Xiaoshang for the help, but before Xiaoshang steps out, he leaves Li Yi with a piece of advice. He tells Li Yi that he has some skills that he can boast of, but he lets him know that he is not strong enough to take on the NG group by himself. Xiaoshang lets Li Yi know that it is good to have partners sometimes. Xiaoshang then lets Li Yi know that he can always contact him if he is interested in taking up the offer. Meanwhile, Black Panther and Kui have gotten information that Xiaoshang and his daughter have left the venue of the auction. The only one left there is Li Yi, who is waiting to pick the shard. Black Panther wants to make a move, but Kui berates him, telling him not to. Kui says they will make their move once Li Yi leaves the territory that belongs to the Qin group. Kui doesn't want anything else to interfere in their business, and Black Panther assures Kui that there is nothing to worry about because he has ordered 3 C-rank experts. Black Panther lets Kui know that Li Yi has no way out this time around. Momentarily, Li Yi leaves the auction venue, and he figures out that Xiaoshang has been digging up information on him because the last statement he made was one that is meant to win him over. Li Yi believes that forming an alliance with no strings attached is not a bad idea for him. Shadow then tells Li Yi that Xiaoshang is just an A-rank awakened, but he lets him know that he can easily become S-rank if he has enough shards. Li Yi stares at Shadow weirdly, and Shadow figures out that Li Yi doesn't believe his word. Li Yi then tells Shadow that he actually believes him, but he is looking for a place to start the trial. Deep down, Li Yi doesn't believe Shadow because he knows that S-ranks are not easy to attain. To show how hard it is, there are only 9 S-ranks in the world. Li Yi continues thinking to himself, and he makes sarcastic remarks about what Shadow said, but he decides not to say it out loud to avoid provoking him again. Just then, Li Yi arrives at his rented apartment only to see that it is on fire. Panic ensues amidst the tenants as they all run for their lives, while some are looking for their loved ones. At the moment, Li Yi receives a call, telling him that the Black Panther gang is going to make a move on him. Li Yi then tells the caller that the gang has already made their move. Li Yi is advised to hide, but he says there is no need for this because he is going to handle the mess himself. Suddenly, 4 thugs appear before him, and the leader, Zhou, suggests that Li Yi get down on his knees to beg for mercy because he might just be merciful and spare his life. Li Yi grins, saying that they have truly belittled him to have sent weaklings to engage him. Zhou laughs, telling Li Yi that he genuinely wants to see how he plans to fight 3 C-ranks. Li Yi then calls their attention to a missing detail. He asks them why they think Blood Panther couldn't kill him. The trio takes a step back when they hear this, and one of them points out that Li Yi is annoyingly confident. He wonders if Li Yi is truly hiding his strength. Zhou tells the C-ranks not to be scared because Li Yi is just a regular miner who doesn't have any combat ability. One of the C-ranks then makes his move, and he charges toward Li Yi, aiming to finish him off from behind. However, Li Yi disappears before his sword can even hit. The dude's sword hits the ground, leaving him confused. Suddenly, Li Yi appears behind him, admitting that he is just a miner. Before the dude can react, Li Yi cuts him down. The other 2 are shocked when they see this since they didn't know when Li Yi disappeared and reappeared again. The 2 charge at Li Yi while Zhou tries to make a run for it since he has seen the foresight of what is about to happen. Li Yi easily cuts down the 2 before they can even move, and he grabs Zhou from behind. Li Yi berates Zhou for getting scared of him when he is just a regular miner. Li Yi grabs him by the neck, holding him tightly while he screams, begging Li Yi to let go of his hand. Li Yi then throws Zhou into his apartment, which is currently being razed by fire. Zhou screams in pain as he is charred. Momentarily, Xian and her masked guard show up on the scene. Xian is exhausted and she holds Li Yi, asking him if he is fine. Li Yi assures Xian that he is fine, and that he only had to deal with a few minor side characters. Xian then asks him what he plans to do next. Li Yi lets Xian know that he is going to strike back since Kui and his people were the ones to make the first move. Xian assures Li Yi that she is going to help him. Li Yi is shocked, and he asks Xian why she is helping him. Cien reveals that she has been angry at the Black Panther gang for a long time, and since they have dared to attack her friend, she is willing to make a move. Cien comes clean, telling Li Yi that he is one of the few friends that she has. Li Yi is not a kid, and he already knows where Cien is going with her assistance, but he is also up for the game. Li Yi then suggests that they start with the Black Panther gang. Cien then takes Li Yi to an apartment where he can stay while he finds a new place. She lets him know that most of the rooms are empty, so he is free to pick any that he wants. After hearing this, Li Yi turns to his right and walks to the room. He says he wants that room, but Cien tries to stop him because he can't have it. The entire room is covered in girl stuff, indicating that it is a girl's room. It turns out that it is Cien's room, and she didn't want Li Yi to see it out of fear that he would say it is too childish for the heiress of the Qin Corporation. Li Yi lets her know that it is normal for a girl to have all the things that are in the room. Li Yi assures her that she is much cuter when she is being a girl than when she is acting all cold and aloof to the outside world. Cien almost bursts from blushing when she hears this because no one has ever called her cute before. Cien tries to hide her red face, but she can't. Cien then reveals that she is hungry, and Li Yi whips out some snacks from his storage space, telling her to manage it in the meantime. Cien is blown away when she sees this, as she starts to wonder where Li Yi brought it from. Cien says she has been wondering where Li Yi pulled the weapons from. Li Yi then reveals that it is magic. Cien immediately asks if he can teach her. Suddenly, Li Yi notices that someone is watching them, and he tells Cien to head home. Cien wonders why he is saying this, and Li Yi basically tells her that her father will eat him alive if she doesn't. Apparently, Xiaoshang is hiding in the bushes and watching them. When Cien realizes this, she screams her father's name so loud it almost brings the walls down. After they are gone, Li Yi tells Shadow that the apartment is in Qin's territory, and no one should bother them in the meantime. It turns out that they now have 3 shards. There is one that they got from Ludan, one from Blood Panther, and then the last one is from the auction. Li Yi suggests that they kickstart the entire thing. He has always wondered what the connection is between the shards and the dimensional portals that appear out of thin air. Shadow then reveals that the shards are just a small part of the gate of the alternate prison. He then adds that all the portals in this world are related to the fragments of the gate of the alternate prison. The two then step into the gate. Li Yi is shocked that there are so many insectoids and beastmen inside the gate. Shadow reveals that they are all prisoners, and he explains that what they all call an alternate dimension is actually a massive interdimensional prison. The wind force in the area is so strong that Li Yi is finding it difficult to move. Shadow lets Li Yi know that all of his questions will be answered once he completes all the trials in the interdimensional prison. They walk up to a scary tall tower, which Shadow calls it the Sky-Reaching Tower. Shadow lets Li Yi know that it is going to be his trial ground. Li Yi is blown away by what he is looking at. He notices some big tubes attached to the tower, and he wonders if they are there to prevent the tower from blowing over. He concludes that the materials from the tower are the same as the swords, which means they are worth a lot of money. He is already imagining himself selling the items to Xiaoshang. Shadow can hear his thoughts, but he manages to control himself. As they step into the tower, Li Yi asks Shadow what the trial is. Shadow explains that the Sky-Reaching Tower has 6 floors in total, and with his current strength, Shadow says it will be considered a great feat if he manages to defeat the Shadow Wyvern on the first floor. Li Yi is surprised that Shadow is calling the Shadow Wyvern a dangerous opponent when he can't even feel a single pressure from it. All Li Yi can see is a little cute gecko that is sitting on its own and waiting for Mama to bring food. Li Yi laughs, saying if he attacks the gecko, it will basically mean he is bullying the weak. Surprisingly, Shadow tells him to continue laughing because he won't be laughing later. Li Yi then stretches his hand toward the supposedly cute gecko. But just as he is about to touch it, he senses a scary aura coming from it, and before he knows it, he is thrown backward by the aura and the terrifying transformation that follows. It turns out that the Shadow Wyvern is a C-rank beast with shadow enhancement. It has a 600% increase in its stats because of its enhancement. Li Yi is shocked when he realizes that the Wyvern has a 600% increase, and he starts wondering if he is using a pirated version of shadow enhancement because the Wyvern's own is 3 times his own. Shadow then tells Li Yi that he can't have the same numbers as his pets because his constitution is inferior to theirs. The Wyvern comes after Li Yi, but he manages to dodge the attack. He unleashes throwables at the Wyvern while saying a bigger body just means more blind spots. Li Yi's throwables do nothing to the Wyvern, leaving Li Yi to wonder just how strong its shadow enhancement defenses are. Shadow is surprised that Li Yi is holding back, even though he is no match for the Wyvern. Li Yi then activates his shadow enhancement. Shadow lets him know that failure to tame the Wyvern means he cannot complete the first floor's trial. Li Yi launches a series of attacks at the Wyvern, but none of them affect the Wyvern. Shadow notices that Li Yi's use of shadow enhancement is already refined, and because of this, he needs to ramp up the intensity for him. Shadow then gives the gecko an incentive. He tells the gecko that Li Yi is edible and that it is free to eat him. Li Yi cannot believe that Shadow just made life harder for him. The wyvern gets more serious with Li Yi, and it lunges at him with the intention of consuming him. Li Yi barely escapes being eaten by the crazy gecko. He makes a run for it while the gecko chases him down. Li Yi teases Shadow, asking him why his gecko has gone all crazy. Shadow then says the gecko is a bit worn out, and it wants to eat Li Yi so that it can replenish its strength. Li Yi claims that the fight is not fair because the gecko is trying to bite him. Li Yi dashes around the room while the gecko aims to gulp him up. Li Yi then comes up with a very funny plan. Since the gecko is hungry, Li Yi has something for it. He launches a swarm of chicken legs at the gecko, and the gecko does well to grab one of the legs. While it is distracted by eating the chicken leg, Li Yi already has it in his grasp. Li Yi wraps his web around it and manages to restrain it. With this, Li Yi successfully restrained the wyvern, and he unlocked the access right to the next floor. Shadow cannot believe that Li Yi tricked his pet with food. The wyvern couldn't care less as it lies on the ground to enjoy its chicken. Li Yi also obtains binding and activation authority for the gate of the alternate prison. Li Yi is confused since he doesn't know what the binding and activation are for. Shadow explains that once he has enough energy, each fragment becomes a portal connected to the alternate prison. Li Yi puts it together that once he binds a fragment of the alternate prison gate, he can open a portal at will. Li Yi is surprised to have gotten such a reward just on the first floor. He figures out that the other floors will be filled with such good rewards. Shadow cannot believe that Li Yi is confident about clearing the first floor easily thanks to his tricks. Shadow decides that he will let Li Yi proceed to the next floor so he can punish him. Shadow tells Li Yi to proceed to the next floor, assuring him that the guards are not that strong. Li Yi can clearly see that Shadow is up to no good since he is clearly grinning like a madman. Li Yi figures out that the beast on the next floor will be no joke since the pet on the first floor is already a C-rank beast. Shadow then tells Li Yi to check it out before he makes his decision. They ride the elevator to the next floor, and Shadow assures him that it is not dangerous. Li Yi trusts Shadow and carelessly opens the door to the next floor to be met with a thunder serpent, which is a C-rank beast. As if this is not enough, there is also a hydro turtle and a lava monitor there. To make it worse, they are all C-rank beasts. Li Yi smiles, asking Shadow if the beasts are what he calls his servants. Without warning, the serpent dashes toward him at great speed. Li Yi barely escapes the snake's first strike. Li Yi wants to retreat but realizes that the entrance is sealed off. The snake then orders its comrades to make sure that they kill the intruder. Li Yi realizes how messed up the situation is, and he activates his shadow jaunt to try to escape, but just as he is reappearing, beasts are already waiting to take his head off. Li Yi taps into the shadow enhancement, and he heads straight for a separate room in the hall. Relying on his speed, he is able to get past the beasts that are in his way, and he makes it to the entrance. He then slams the door closed, as he has almost died of exhaustion. Li Yi berates Shadow for lying to him about the floor. Shadow had earlier told him that the floor had only servants there, but this is not the case. Shadow claims that he wasn't lying, but it turns out that Li Yi's abilities are too poor to handle them. Shadow is grinning from ear to ear while saying this because this is exactly what he wanted. He wanted Li Yi to suffer, and he is getting what he wants already. Li Yi then asks Shadow what a molten lava minotaur can do. Shadow replies that it provides heating. Li Yi asks about the Thunder King snake, and Shadow replies that it provides electricity. He also asks about the Hydro Tortoise, and Shadow says it mops the floors. When he asks about the other side characters that are there, waiting to take him out, Shadow replies that they are there for chores. Shadow makes sure to give Li Yi sarcastic replies to make life harder for him. Li Yi almost crashes out, but there is nothing he can do. Suddenly, Li Yi gets the notification that an A-rank life form is approaching them. Li Yi turns around to see Xiaoshang and his daughter, and he wonders why the two are showing up at such an odd time. The two sit down to talk, and Xiaoshang mentions that he heard from Xiyin that he plans to fight the Black Panther gang. Li Yi confirms this and says that since they have started targeting him, he is done playing passive. He wants to take the fight to them. Xiaoshang then reveals that the Black Panther gang has always provoked him, but he never made a move. He asks Li Yi if he knows the reason behind this. Li Yi assumes that Xiaoshang didn't make a move because he is afraid of upsetting the balance. Qin Xiaoshang lets Li Yi know that he is right. He explains that the three great powers of the region are in a state of mutual balance. Apparently, Wu Tianshu, the city lord, controls the politics of Haicheng, while Ning and his group control the economy. And for Qin Xiaoshang, he holds the power in both economy and politics that is second only to theirs. Even though Xiaoshang detests the Black Panther gang for bullying merchants, he cannot act as long as the gang doesn't go too far. Xiaoshang says that if he acts against the Black Panther gang, Ning and Tianchu will possibly come together for an alliance against him. He says there is another possibility, and this is Qin and Ning suffering casualties, giving Tianchu the chance to take over everything. After hearing this, Li Yi asks Qin Shaoshang if he has no interest in joining the fight. Shaoshang takes a deep breath before telling Li Yi that he wants him and Xiyin to form a new faction to deal with the Black Panther gang. Basically, he is trying to start a proxy war. He will provide the money and the manpower for him and Xiyin to execute their plan. Since he is not directly involved, the other two superpowers will not dare to act rashly. He assures them that even if they fail, he will still make sure that they are safe. Li Yi is impressed with everything he has heard, saying he never expected Qin Shaoshang to come up with such a brilliant plan. Shaoshang then reveals that he only got interested in everything because his daughter was very persistent. Shaoshang is in tears as he believes that Li Yi has Xiyin under his control with the help of a love potion. Shaoshang says he is putting up efforts and money, but his daughter might just end up running away with him. Shaoshang concludes that it is going to end in his loss either way. He thinks of tying Li Yi up and dumping him somewhere far away. Li Yi is forced to tell the old man to stop thinking out so loudly. As usual, Xiyin pushes her father out of the room. She slams the door behind him and then asks Li Yi what his next plan is. Li Yi reveals that he is going to accept missions so he can get access to every publicly accessible dimensional gateway. Li Yi tells Xiyin that he needs to visit every gateway in the city, and Xiyin assures him that she will make the plans for that. Li Yi is confident that once he is completely bonded with the shards, the Black Panther gang is done for.